Yeah. And another one. Peace to the family. We're kicking it off right now with another cosmic build. This will be number 3. So I had to let you guys see the polarization of light for 3 times. And what we're building on today is we're going to be building on just that, right? We're going to be building on the polarization of truth. And we can interpret the truth as the light. So today I'm bringing in 2 of my great brothers, as well as any of the other family that will join if they want to join and offer their amazing perspectives. All my fam have amazing perspectives. And so today we're going to kick it off with 2 of my brothers that are dear to me, that are very sharp brothers, very intelligent, very spiritually inclined brothers. We have Terry, and we have none other than my brother Quan, also known as Snubs. And these 2 brothers are very, very adept in the spiritual and esoteric knowledge categories. So with that, we're going to go ahead and open everything up and commence to building. So here we are, live and direct with my brother Snubs and my brothers Terry. And today I just wanted to start off by talking about, the polarization of truth and what that means, and what is truth, right? Because as you could see with the illustration that we were playing to open it up, it was showing you kind of a scientific explanation for the polarization of light, and how light has these different parts that come together to create the image, right? Or to create what we know as the actual light, which illuminates things and provides the body of things for us, right? So if we go in a dark room and we turn the light on, now we can see all the objects in the room, right? So now our eye can translate those objects. And so I just wanted to take a closer look at that and kind of expound on these deep topics related to the polarization of truth. The previous builds, we were dealing with the empathy of the lower self, as well as the divine paradox. And I believe that those were necessary groundwork in order to continue building and to move on to this current topic, which is the polarization of truth. What do I mean by that? What is the polarization of truth? What is truth? And so I just want to start with that, with those questions. What is truth? What is the polarization of truth? Let's start, man. Let's get deep into it. Snubs, you there, bro?
Yes, I'm here. How you doing, Bob?
Doing great, sir. Glad you can join and participate in this epic, cosmic build that we're getting into right now. And so, I'll just kick it off, man. What I feel the truth is what we know as an actuality, right? So what we can say is actual reality to us, like what we consider actual reality, like in the things that are in line with that. So in other words, things that are not in line with like a lie or something that's opposite of reality or something, aka that doesn't exist, right? Like you were just like before we started right now, you were just building on dark matter, and you were talking about
Correct.
dark matter and antimatter. So I mean, I think that's super relevant to discussing like what is the truth, or light or matter. I feel like these things are synonymous: truth, light, matter, Christ, all these kinds of ideas. But what do you think is the truth, bro? Like, how would you kind of define truth on a very um, macro level, like a universal level? Is there a universal truth?
Yeah, the universal truth. I believe there is universal truth because there has to be order in something. I mean, out of nothing, there is order out of nothing. Like the universe could be all chaos, but look what we have: planets, stars. We have a whole system, and I would say that now we know that because it's the truth. It's evident that we know this because we observed it. So, what you were saying, I would say basically anything within your universe, your mind that you behold is true to you, that you believe in is the truth. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody else seen what you've seen, it could also be looked at as a lie. But if you've seen or observed something or felt it or experienced something, then it's the truth.
Hmm. Okay. That's perfect. So if we can say, this is something that I felt, that I experienced, that I went through, then I could say it's a subjective truth to me, right? But
Personally,
does
yeah.
that mean that it has to be true to the next person? Like if it's subjective, do you think like, and I know that's kind of a leading question. I'm not trying to lead you with your answer. I'm just saying like,
Okay.
do you think that a subjective truth, obviously we know that that's a personal truth to a personal person, but how do you think that relates to like a greater truth that's true to everybody? Like, cause couldn't a subjective truth still be true to other people as well? Or is it
Correct.
just only your own truth?
It could be true to other people as well, only if, how can I say it? Um, you show them your
Hmm.
truth the best way possible. Like, let me give an example.
Okay.
I don't know if people have heard of this example before. There were lions in the zoo, and the
Hmm.
lions in the zoo only knew of the truth of the zoo. That was the world to them. They were born in the zoo, they died in the zoo. They were treated perfectly, like lions, kings, queens, lioness, mating, doing whatever they had to do to bed good. They had really great owners, but all they know is that zoo. So their reality to them is the zoo until one day they brought this lion out of the jungle. The lion from the jungle comes into the zoo and says, "Hey guys, what's going on?" While everybody in the zoo is like, "Hey, what's up? What's up? Man, what zoo you came from?" The guy goes, "Zoo I came from? No, I came from the world. I came from Africa." Africa, ha ha ha, there's no Africa. This guy said there's Africa. All the lions laughed and, you know, shunned him away, said, "You're a liar. That can't be."
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's one way of saying there is truth, but nobody believes it.
Mm. Interesting.
But the truth is, the lion is telling the truth.
Mm. So you know how they say like, okay, there's a subjective truth and then there's the objective truth. Like for instance, right? Let's say like, okay, let's say
Mm.
um let's say like I you could say something was true to you, like what, like I love, let's say I love my mother, right?
Correct.
To me that's true, right? To you that's true. You can relate. So some people may not relate to that, so they'll say, well, that's not true for me, right? But if we say, well, if we look up at the sky and you have perfectly working eyes and we say the sky is blue, that's kind of like undeniable, right?
Correct.
So we have a subjective truth and an objective truth. So in those two instances, there's still a situation of truth happening. So it's almost like it's a micro truth and a macro truth. So how does the micro truth relate to the macro truth? Like, because if it's true,
Yeah,
it's true, right?
I think I kind of understand where you're coming from. I used to tell a lot of people this, man. If the sky is black, the sky is black, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who told you the sky is black, right? We all are taught that the sky is black until maybe one day the truth comes and says, no, the sky is navy blue.
Mm-hmm.
We can get, I think that's what you're trying to get to, like maybe like we all wouldn't know the bigger truth until maybe something outrageous happens to show us that. Like again, once again, observation has to happen. Somebody has to feel this.
Right.
It
Right.
has to be experienced. And I think that's the biggest thing for truth. Truth is experience. It is the experience of.
Absolutely. Mm. So that's a key. So truth is the experience. I agree with that. And that's really how we measure truth, right? It's through the experience of it. So,
Mm. Measurement of truth. I like that too. Word. Measurement of truth. How,
hmm.
like, do we really measure truth? Oh shit. I know we measure time, sound. You know we could measure the truth. I
So it's
figured that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't mean to
no,
cut you off.
no worries. So it was like so that truth is measurable. So then on a larger level, it's a truth that we could all experience. Like, so I like how you said that, like truth is related to experience. That makes perfect sense because it's like if we all experience something together, then that's what makes the objective truth. And then if we
Mm-hmm.
experience something like just in our own individual world, that's what makes the subjective truth. But it's like it's almost like that is a version of truth polarized because it's like you have a larger truth that many have experienced and then you have a smaller truth that only maybe you or whoever has,
Yeah.
the individual has experienced. So it's like you have a smaller local truth and then a larger objective truth, but it's still a truth. So what that says to me is that this truth, this local truth, is like some kind of reflection or like some kind of micro, like a reflection cascading. Like how like I think the brother Mental Ninja was actually making this example yesterday
Mm-hmm.
where he was talking about like two mirrors facing each other. And
Yeah, and
how
then
like it's
it's
reflecting,
infinite
reflecting,
reflection.
infinite reflection, but you notice something with the infinite reflection. He was talking about
Yes,
like
it
the
curves.
bending.
It curves.
It curves, yeah, and then you see the small, like it gets smaller and smaller, right? You
Correct.
notice that, like the reflection, it kind of creates like a hallway effect,
Mm-hmm.
like you're looking in the distance or something, and it just keeps cascading back and back and back and back until it's just like a smaller reflection, keeps going on both
Mm-hmm.
sides, and it's like you're looking in down a hall or something, right? And
Right.
I think that's an example of objective truth and subjective truth. It's like the reflection goes so many times or something like that that it appears smaller. Like the truth is like a localized. truth because of like multi-layered reflection of it.
Two-layer reflections of it, and each reflection, if I'm getting you right, each reflection is each individual person.
Yeah, or each reflection is yeah, like each individual person or each individual experience.
Experience, yes, yes. Each individual's truth, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because it is the truth, looking at the truth,
Mm-hmm.
but from a different glass.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Right. And so I would postulate that the truth is the truth, and that's all there is. And that actually, you know, actually not only is the truth all there is, but like a lie is a part of the truth. I would actually postulate that. Like I would say a lie is a part of the truth. Now,
Well,
what do I mean by that? But let me explain, because I maybe you disagree. But before you
go
disagree,
ahead.
hear me out. You
Yeah.
might agree. So check this out, right? I say the reason I say a lie is also a part of the truth is because, right? Because, well, the truth is the foundational state. We built on binary code yesterday, and we talked about how zero is like really the ultimate state. You know what I mean? Zero is like the ultimate. Like even when you're going into binary language, they say that zero is positive. Like the numbers that start with zero, if it's like
Mhm.
0 1 1 0 0 0 1, but it starts with zero, that's a positive binary code. If it starts with one, now it's negative. So the space between the zero and one, just that little small decimal places, all those infinite decimal between zero and one is all positive movement until you actually get to one. Now it's negative, and that's
Yeah.
because
And then
the
everything
one
from
is an
one to
identity now.
Mhm.
The one is an identity. So real quick, let me just say, like, and I definitely want to hear your response to this. The truth includes the lie. So like just like your higher self includes the lower self, right? So like the lie is a part of the truth, meaning that it's the part of the truth that says this is what the truth is not, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah.
within it, it has an inversion of itself within itself. You dig me?
Right. And then that version of itself can also get multiplied
Mm-hmm.
by a different glass looking at it. But wow. You, can that different glass be like a parallel dimensional version of the
Wow.
truth?
Wow.
Because now I guess that started its own timeline.
Wow. Oh yeah. So let me just take a moment real quick. I mean, we're already starting out to on a lightning bolt right now. Like we're riding lightning right now. Shout out to the mental ninja. I see the brother just joined. Okay, Snubs just
What's
fell
good,
out.
y'all?
I think Snubs accidentally hit the button. And then I wanted to shout out Terry. I see Terry. I think you're back now for a second.
Yes, yes, sir.
So yeah, I would love to hear. I don't know if you guys have been hearing us right now. We just started building, and we just getting right along with it, man. As far as like, I just postulated that the lie is a part of the truth, and that truth is all there is, and it includes the lie. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, most definitely. Uh, so we was talking about. I talked about that movie Casino the other day, yesterday, right? Last night. And
Mm-hmm.
there's another thing from that movie that really fucking stuck with me, and it's when Robert De Niro gets pulled over by Al Pacino, and he's like, "You want to go get some coffee?" So they in there getting coffee and shit, and Al Pacino's looking at Robert De Niro because Robert De Niro's a bank robber, Al's a cop. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, Al Pacino's like, you know what? If it comes down to one of your guys, taking out one of my cop buddies and making one of his kids an orphan, he said, I'm gonna take you guys out. And Robert De Niro kind of like looked at his cup and he like looked back at him. He said, there's a flip side of that coin. He
Mm-hmm.
said that shit. I was like, damn. And then like another thing on Vampire in Brooklyn, like I kind of first considered this concept.
I love that
He
movie,
was
by the
like,
way.
evil is good.
Oh yeah, I remember
You
that.
know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, the if you can't find the truth, look for the lie because the apple never falls far from the tree.
Mm.
They're two ends of a spectrum. They're intrinsically linked together by their operation. And The idea between truth and lie are just human concepts. They don't really exist. It's like an illusion, something that we make up in order to discern things and stuff. And one person's truth may be another person's lie,
Mm.
but you can't even get the lie if the foundation is not the truth, and you can't even have the truth without a possibility to be it to be turned into a lie and shit. They're like damn the same fucking thing, just matter of
Mm-hmm.
perspective.
You know what? I'm glad you said that because although this is a topic that could go in many different directions, because there's many different versions of truth, and depending on which idea of truth we're talking about, which instance, which scenario of truth we're talking about, it may function differently than other truths, because it has its own personal characteristics as that personal truth. But generally speaking, we're talking about the same dynamics. But so I didn't want to like go too far off the deep end to where we're not having the same conversation anymore because like I said, this conversation could go a lot of different places. But I'm glad you pointed that particular thing out because uh, with the weather in particular,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we are raised up in a society that kind of just gives us enough to function, but it doesn't really care about us having a complete understanding. It actually doesn't want us to have an understanding because if we start using our heads, that's going to be trouble for them. But society gives us enough just to be able to function, and we don't necessarily grasp the concepts that we speak about every day or that we deal with every day, such as weather. We might say we're having cold weather or we're having hot weather, but there's no such thing as cold weather because weather itself fluctuates.
Mm.
Just like you just pointed out,
Mm.
it's multiple ends of one spectrum. So there's no such thing as cold or hot because we're just talking about weather, which fluctuates. But we give these things a name so that we can understand how our physical vessel interacts with it, and we could describe what's taking place with these exchanges, with these interactions, with the weather and how it affects us. We can say
Mm-hmm.
it's cold because that gives us an idea of which type of weather we're dealing with. But these, without addressing these constructs to be specific, we don't know, nor will we understand that we're talking about the same thing. Hot and cold is the same thing. It's just a different end of the same spectrum. And when you say stuff like that, you lose people because we never hear things like this growing up in society. But I really just wanted to give you kudos for pointing that out because that's really, that's really a mind opener. That's really a groundbreaker, and this is a impressive topic altogether. So kudos to everybody here.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, bro. I mean, that was a dope perspective that you just brought.
Right.
I want to
Hell
welcome
yeah.
Misha. Yo, guys, this is Misha. She's phenomenal. I mean, she's very spiritually in tune and things of this nature. She just has a deep perspective and always has a dope way of looking at things that, maybe we didn't see at first. And so, welcome, Misha. Thank you for joining. It's always a pleasure to, hear your perspective and stuff like that. So I'm so happy that you joined. Um, yeah, but
Hey, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, what's
Yeah.
going on, Misha?
Okay, awesome. I'm still trying to navigate it. I'm not quite hearing everybody great, but glad to be here.
Okay.
Hey, it's like another thing about the idea like cold and hot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the idea right there kind of sets it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an idea. It doesn't even exist. Not really. The only reason we experience cold is because of our body system. You know what I'm saying? Without the sense of experience of feeling, then we're not going to know what cold or hot is. And another thing is like -5 below zero is a lot hotter than -10 or even -6. So it's like what really defines cold and hot. And like I'm at work with my girl today on this trip, and I'm like, babe, I'm getting cold. And she looked at me, she's like, nah. I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm hot. I'm like, nah, I'm cold. You know what I'm saying? So two people in the same 5 feet radius, one is cold, one is hot. So not only is it a matter of
Mm.
perspective, but it also is a manner of experience through that perspective. And another thing about the lie, right? So if you ask me how my day was, I'll tell you exactly everything that happened, what I saw, what it looked like, how it felt, with the smells and everything, what I did, where I went, and everything that you see in your head is like not going to have anything to do with the fuck I'm talking about, period, because you weren't there experiencing it. So everything that you're seeing is actually a lie, but it's your own truth of what you can assume. And everything I'm saying, that's the idea behind the word myth. People think myth has something to do with fantasy. It kind of does, but really myth just means to communicate, whether it's written, it's spoken, or however it is a means of communication. And so if I tell you how my day is, I'm literally giving you a myth, and you're going to formulate your own ideas of what that day looks like and shit. It's not going to have anything to do with what the fuck I went through.
Exactly. So
the
just so
truth and
people
lie is
understand,
something.
like just to reiterate what you just said, just so people get it, you're saying basically, just correct me if I'm wrong. You're basically saying because the person didn't go through the direct experience that you're describing to them, that it's automatically a myth because it's not real to them. Like they don't have that experience. So they have to
Yeah,
imagine it to the best degree or like the closest. It's like an approximation.
and I'm using all these intricate words and vowels and these fucking syllables and consonants to try to convey
No,
something that's not going to be conveyed. Period.
he's right. He's right. Hey, bro, remember that infinite mirror. There's always the lie in that truth. He can be telling the truth. We just don't know if it is or not because we've never experienced it. So now we tell our truth of what he said to us,
Which is a
and
lie, right?
as soon as we misconstrue one thing, he's right. It turns into a lie, or it is a lie that we form as the truth. So you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes its own timeline now, or mirror effect. It's
Why
crazy.
do you think that hearsay is not allowed in court? You know,
Right.
and then they have a witness, a direct eyewitness. They can tell everything they saw and shit, but that's still at that same point. There's still going to be a level of hearsay to the myth because everybody in their direct minds going to be thinking and interpreting their words based on the way they interpret it to the matter of their own experience and stuff. And that's why,
Right.
like, somebody could say whip, and motherfuckers thinking of an actual whip, or they're thinking of cream being whipped, or they're thinking about a car. So, what the truth and lie almost in this kind of way we're talking about, it basically doesn't exist because we just annihilated the fuck out of both ideas.
You know what? I was gonna say that I was gonna use an example to illustrate how basically the point that you guys just pointed out with a male and a female experiencing different temperatures but being within the same vicinity indicates that truth is basically a result and it's a byproduct of circumstances, right? I think that's what you were trying to say. This, depending on your immediate circumstances will determine the truth to you. You could be cold, I could be hot, we could be standing in the same spot, but depending on our personal makeup, you know, the chemistry in our bodies, that's going to decide what's true for you and what's true for me. The same way, if you go to the top of a mountain here on Earth, then the amount of pressure is different than when you are at land level, at sea level. We're both on Earth, but just in different perspectives, you know, which dictate different truths. Sea level has a different air pressure than somebody on the top of a mountain, and a man's body chemistry give him a different temperature feel than a female. And if you go on another planet per se, it's been a while since I visited this sign, so I don't want to butcher it. But like if you go to Saturn or something like that, um, the thing about air pressure and how it affects mountaintops versus being at sea level is that if you were cooking, you would need to boil the water longer because there's less air pressure pushing down on the heat, which will make your cooking process take much, much longer. But if you were to go on a different planet where the air pressure is totally different, I'm talking about completely different from here on Earth, then not only would your cooking circumstances be different, but you could have ice, you could have steam, and you could have water in the exact same pot. As crazy as that sounds, I'm talking about in the same pot
Crazy.
because the circumstances on that planet
Right.
define a different truth, the same way as the circumstances for a male body and a female body define a different truth. So I really just wanted to throw that out there because, like I said, this is a crazy topic that could go a lot of different places.
It can
But
go
Right.
y'all, it's
anywhere.
killing me, man.
It really
Y'all,
could.
y'all,
It
y'all
really
killing
could.
Y'all,
It
y'all
goes back to what I was saying with Rob. The truth is what you experience. That can
Mm-hmm.
only be it, because if you were the only one to go to space, so you were the only one to do that, and come back and tell us that, we're gonna still look at you like you're crazy.
That part.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember the lion theory, Rob? It's the same
Right.
shit. Gotta
So-
experience it.
So basically, the truth can sometimes be a lie, and a lie can sometimes be a truth.
No, but I think
Mhm.
there's an opportunity to challenge us to go even deeper, right? Because I think that we're still putting things in boxes, right? And this idea of fluidity
Mhm.
that I feel is missing in the conversation, right? Like, I don't know, because I think that was profound when he said all the elements can exist in the same pot, and to me it was like bing bing, oh of course, like automatically. But what's missing from that is the fact that the different elements are in fact not so different, and that they feed from each other, that you couldn't have one without the other.
Right.
So
Can't have snow
nothing.
without
So
rain.
nothing ever is a lie. Really?
I
Like,
mean,
is that?
you can put the truth in a cup, it becomes a cup. You can put truth in a bowl, it becomes a bowl. Truth can flow, truth can crash. Be truth, my friends. On the flip side, you could put the lie in a cup, it becomes the cup. On some real clean
Yo,
shit.
that's
I
crazy.
was like, it's all a matter of perspective, and like, and then especially with the word element, it's 3 syllables, ment or ment or whatever. And L is, in reference to, God in in the Hebraic sense.
Higher.
And you have E representing as in a mathematical sense of exponential. And you have, or whatever, equate or whatever, and then you have ment, that means mind. So what the fuck really, what are elements really? And if it's the truth, and remember, we have the senses to perceive things. The only reason that the ground is hard is because our foot is soft. That's basically how it works. The only
Imagine
reason
if
we
our
see,
foot
It
was
is
harder than the
mine.
ground.
the only reason that
That's so
the
deep,
sun has
right?
light is because we have eyes.
Mm.
The sun doesn't even have light. It's will, and in the Hermetic principle, everything is mental. The principle of mentalism and stuff. And it's like, is the Earth round? Is it flat? It's all in your fucking head. You just don't have any idea how big your head is.
What's so crazy is that really resonates, like, because I've been on the last few days, I don't know, maybe like last 2 days, I've been having this idea of like, okay, I had a new thought, right, which was flat Earth. I know they mentioned it in school in Christopher Columbus, but they mentioned it in such a way that there was no room to think. It was like, oh, Christopher, he came, and whoever thought the Earth was flat, they were completely wrong, right? Like, so that was my perception. But recently, it's been like, I had an opposite, a new perspective of the Earth that resonated with me. But it's like, I don't know, that same idea in terms of the Earth being a sphere, a globe, resonates with other people. And so it just, I don't know, it just made so much sense what you just said. Like, it's so much deeper than that. And it's sort of this how creation was an idea. And I think it goes to my initial point of it, things having to be fluid, right? Like, there is no I think the only time that there is it is and will be, it is as it pertains to human sort of soul, right? Like I don't know. Is that making sense to y'all? No.
Yeah,
Like,
even like Christopher Columbus, like, I mean, like right there, if we just like supply it, like, a grain of logic to it, right? We can call it Lowry seasoning logic to make it taste a little better. Christopher Columbus proved the Earth was a ball by sailing across the ocean. It's like saying, "Oh, I proved the neighborhood is a ball because I walked across the street." Like, the nigga didn't even go
right.
on He didn't even go all the way around and shit. And then he discovers people discovering him, discovering them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and
Wow.
I think that for the intuitive mind and shit, we're not gonna like, and you know, we're not gonna question those things. But we always, I mean, I had that question.
Right.
I have that question right now. I'm glad you said that. You segued it. I have that question. So my question is, if you, we're talking about the Earth, you know, cosmology and things of that nature, right? Let's just say theoretically, right? Let's say people told you that the Earth was a lie. Like they told you that it was a shape that it wasn't, and what you experienced was what we've already kind of acknowledged, that experience and truth are hand in hand. Like experience is truth, you know. So what you experience is something different than what they told you. Then, so what happens when, the question is, what happens when you believe the lie, but and it's not what you experience?
It's the truth. It's the truth for you.
But what happens to your experience? Because isn't your truth determined by your experience?
You're gonna perceive it based on the experience. Like that was one of the biggest things. Like when I heard the flat earth thing even come up, I was like, no, are you serious? Like I was like, are niggas what? That was like the last thing I would ever think that in my lifetime I would hear somebody, people start believing that shit. And then like, you know, I kind of like did this little thing where like scenario, like what they called me to court to testify that the earth was a ball. And they, you know, they call me on the stand and, you know, I swear in shit and like, so Mr. Nelson, the earth is a ball. I'm going to say, I'm like, well, yeah.
Hell
You know,
no.
no, listen. I'm like, yeah, the earth is a ball. And he's like, okay. So you've seen the earth. And I'm like, yeah. He said, okay, so you're an astronaut. And I'm like, look at the judge like, what? I'm like, I ain't say all that. He said, well, I'm curious to know, Mr. Nelson, you say the earth is a ball. I asked you if you said you've seen it. You said yes. I asked you if you're an astronaut. You say no. And I'm curious to know. I'm sure the court is curious as well, Mr. Nelson. How do you know that the earth is a ball if you're not an astronaut and you've seen it? And I'm like, and I jump in. I like jump out the chair. Pictures, stupid videos. And he replies back.
That's literally what's happening right now.
Hey, look, he rebuttals back. Oh, so you took the pictures. You shot the video. And I sit back in my chair like, holy shit. Nigga, I don't even know.
Wait, say that last part. The last part
when I jump out my chair, like, how do you if you're not a, you know, the earth is a ball, you're not an astronaut, you say you've seen it, but you're not an astronaut, how do you know? And I jump out like, pictures, stupid videos, idiot. And he's like, oh, so you took the pictures
for yourself.
You shot the videos. And I'm like, I sit back down on my seat and I'm like, nah. And then it just dawns on me like, nigga, you haven't seen it. Therefore, you do not.
Well, that piece that you're speaking to is it's so interesting how the average person, that's such a leap. Because I've only recently started having conversations about the idea of flat Earth, and it's such a trip how folks who haven't even pondered on it as deep as I have are ready to go to bat initially. Period. That the Earth is round, right? It's a globe.
That's what we're
it
taught to do.
blows my mind how quickly, and I'm like, I know you. You're not. You haven't pondered on this idea as deep as I have, but the conviction that they have for it is a trip.
It's not even conviction in the sense of the knowledge of the earth. Like the school system is not based on what's good and true, what's logically sound, valid, cogent, and logical. It's based on, can you repeat the information given to you? That's all you have to do. And when an individual finds out somebody's a flat earther, just by the flat earther's existence, the knowledge of that person's existence, it basically puts the globe earther on trial, basically saying, nigga, you went to school for nothing, everything. So they start repeating again the same shit we all learned. Oh, what about gravity? Oh, what about this? Does that mean everything's a ball? And it's like, the thing is, the individual is in fear, a state of shock and fear that they're using to protect themselves, and that they believe they've been taught good and true information when the foundation of our school system is fucking not just a ball earth, but Santa Claus. I mean, like, those are the first things we learn in school. And it's how the indoctrination works so well, because once you can move a person from questioning their own reality and knowledge of that, bro, you can just fill up, you put water in a cup, it becomes a cup. I'm gonna end it with that.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you: if somebody could say the Earth is round, somebody could say the Earth is flat, and vice versa. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, like, equally, literally, unless the motherfucker's like, nah, I've been there, I've seen it, and I'll tell you how
Right.
you can go
So,
there and see it. Like, we're all using base knowledge from where we're at to discern this shit.
right.
Nobody knows. Nobody fucking really knows, but we can. There's some things like with the ball earth. So what I had to do is I had to start doing my own investigation, which like, hold up, where's the teacher? Where's the source material out of a fucking scholar book that they give you by the Department of EDU? You have to have those things before you can actually deem and research. Like, no, I'm gonna use the tools I got, my five senses and my sixth sense to really look around and shit. And I started asking questions, and I still have unanswered questions, but I was like, okay, well, how would this work if the Earth was a stationary motionless plane? How would this work? How does this water system work? How does the seasons work? And how does light work? And is it a spotlight for the sun or is it something else? And with that, those kind of questions, the answers will come up. You'll find the answers. It's like, oh shit. But there's like there'll be a couple things that you just really can't get past. Like that I can't get past. Like, okay, why is the moon so big on the horizon, but it's smaller on the zenith and it's bigger as it sets? Same with the sun. So that right there is showing me that there's more to this game of is it flat or is it round than I thought. And technically, in the flat Earth cosmogony, it still has a diameter, it still has a radius, and it still has a circumference, which are the same things that the ball have. It's just like we're not using a three-dimensional, actually oblate spheroid to as our foundation on the actual shape, size, and consistency of the planet, the place that we live.
Yeah. So it just made me think more because I was just still wondering
Yeah.
because it made me think like about that question I asked because I don't think we really touched that because the question is like, and I'm still curious, like, what is it when your actual experience, like when I say experience, I don't mean what people told you it was. I mean what your actual reality reflected it was, right? Whether you believe that or not, like your actual senses, your reality and everything reflects a certain thing, right? So what happens when somebody tells you that something that's contrary to what your experience is and you go by that? So you're going so your reality is something you're pursuing that's contrary to what you're experiencing as reality. You get what
Yeah,
I'm
if like
saying?
your mind is, yeah, if your mind is open, like I think I'm gonna keep. I don't know why I keep going back to it, but it sounds logical to me. Is the cup, the water in the cup, it becomes a cup. So let's say I
So
have this
does it
belief
change? So
that
hold on. So does it change? So are you saying that reality changes based on what we think it is? Like
Only if
literally.
you,
collective,
yeah, you got to
you're the
believe it.
belief. You'll manifest the thoughts. You'll start seeing things like there's a glitch in the matrix now. It was
Mm-hmm.
always a glitch, but now you're noticing it only because somebody prompted you and cued you. There's a glitch. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
and it
You
might
know,
not even be a glitch. The whole glitch should be you not noticing things. That could be the glitch. Like fucking really, who knows?
Snubs, what do you think of that?
yeah, you have to if you believe it within your your person, your body, then that's the truth to you. If somebody told you something that was, what you were taught in school, like you guys said, round, and somebody showed you and explained to you how it could be flat, and you took that on, what your man said, if you have an open mind, then now you have a different perception. You see it differently than how you saw it.
So the
Like
only
it's
thing
like
that
a
would be different
hindsight. Yeah.
is like people around you then, because the only way that would matter is like is let's say like if somebody told you like, oh yeah, those big yellow things that pick kids up and take them to school, yeah, those are taxi cabs, and then you just now you refer to those as taxi cabs, and you said okay, those things are taxi cabs, and so it depends on what everyone else thinks, right? So it's like
Well, I
because
mean,
everyone else in
Well,
reality is gonna be like, no, that's a school bus,
that's a school bus.
and then you're gonna
But
you'll be contrary to that reality, which would make you what, delusional, right? So what I'm saying is delusion is like a seesaw, right? It's like because you're saying like how truth can morph and like be something one perspective and be something else in a different perspective. and then it's like it can be contrary to what it was, and this kind of thing, and that's the movement of it. And it's like, like if you're actually engaging in something that's against the actual truth, which would be your experience, your direct experience, that would be a delusion. But the thing about the delusion is that morphs, you know what I'm saying? So once again, it's still that same, it's a part of the same thing energy. Like the delusional reality you could live, it could be contrary to reality, like around you. Like everybody can look at you like, yo, you're not even living in reality. Like, what are you doing? Like, you could be a schizophrenic person, right? They're, and someone may think that they're like they think they're outside of a different reality, or they may have an experience of beyond, this reality, and they can't control the filtering of it, and then they look crazy in this reality. It's like, yo, you're totally outside of this reality, man. What's going on here? And so that's that level of delusion. But I feel like that moves. Like I feel like it's a seesaw on that as well. Like just like with truth, it's still something. It's true. Something's true about the delusion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's only a delusion to the person that doesn't believe it.
Well,
or if it's a lot of people that don't believe it.
So a lot of
makes it
people
more than one person.
Yeah,
right.
Just because a lot of people believe one thing doesn't mean Jesus is going to be flying around the sky butt ass naked or in a robe.
But don't the numbers matter? Like in our body of humanity, right? Let's say does 70% of humanity thinking one thing like have a greater effect on the greater reality than 30%?
You probably might be thinking something.
You know what? I was degree, right?
I guess to the status quo. I guess.
So
I was getting ready.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Terry.
I was just gonna say, we're getting to what I think is the nitty gritty of, not necessarily what is truth, because clearly truth is so subjective. Truth is so relative. Truth is dependent on your immediate circumstances, and the minute that those circumstances change, that truth will change. So truth is only based on your immediate circumstances. But and I think that's evident because just like you just pointed out, the delusion, it's a determining factor as well. It's we can't just write it off and say it's just a delusion, because nothing is as simple as that. For example, like you was just saying, the number of people that believe in Jesus versus the people who don't, their delusion, whether we want to call it a delusion or not, will have an effect on reality. To the point where now the argument becomes, is delusion truth? Because the more people who believe in what one might determine is a delusion, the fact that they believe in it, the fact that they will put effort towards it, the fact that everything in their environment will reflect this, means that this delusion has just now manifested into a truth, because now, right, their immediate circumstances, the truth about their immediate circumstances will reflect that Jesus is true. So whether Jesus is true, whether Jesus really exists or not, becomes irrelevant, because Jesus is, in fact, a force in their everyday lives. He exists in their everyday lives. Their actions and everything about them reflect the existence of him. How they carry themselves, the way that they make their decisions, all depends on Jesus. So to an extent, yes, Jesus exists. So truth is subjective once again. But what I was gonna say is, it seems like we getting more so down to the nitty gritty of the bigger determining factor, which may be what generates reality itself, right? Because reality changes from place to place. The truth changes from place to place. But that which creates these different environments will ultimately determine what can and cannot be true, right? So if the circumstances on another planet are totally different from this planet, which means that everything that we know, everything that we've come to know about how gravity works and how everything could be totally different on another planet. The fact of the matter is, whatever it was that generated both these different environments will ultimately have the last say so in what truth is, right? Because it's all going to depend on what it was that produced these different environments, which is what brought us to what we determine is true. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth for me as a human, it ain't gonna be the truth for a zebra or a fish that live in the water. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right. Hell yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's real
I'll
crazy.
say this. I'll say this is that that's going under the assumption that zebras even believe in truth. Truth
Shit.
is like it's a theory that's never been proven just by the conversation that we're having right here. We didn't win
Oh,
all over the place with it and stuff, you know. So it's more like, a way to try to justify certain things in an individual's life. So if a bunch of people believe Jesus exists or whatever, then like the one of the key things you said is their actions, their behavior is going to reflect they're going to reflect onto the world, they're going to impose onto the world this idea. And the thing is, like, that's how it has to happen, because if an individual believes Jesus exists, they have to act out that role. And not only do they have to act out in that role, but the reality around them has to conform to what they're acting out in. So if Jesus exists, that means the devil exists, and that means that somebody's going to heaven, and they would most likely, and somebody's going to go to hell. And for the Christian, they want to make sure that it's not going to be them going to hell. So what they do is they go out there with their finger out, pointing at everybody else going to go to hell. And as long as they can find somebody else, they can just reassure themselves that it's not going to be them. When the thing is, like, none of it's true. And even if Jesus didn't exist, it's the same fucking thing. Motherfuckers gonna be walking around acting as if, behaving as if. And what happens at the end of the day is like none of it's true still. So it's
You
not
know
about
what? Go ahead. I ain't mean to cut you.
yeah, even if all of society, like, we're human beings, like, how do I know that? Like, really, that's the niggas been saying since I got here, or I've been
hmm
hearing that
Yeah.
shit. That make it true because everybody believes in it. Mark Twain says, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect, take a step back, and like reconsider, because does that mean everybody knows what the fuck's going on? No.
I feel you on that. I'm finna say this and I'm gonna get a flow back because I know I'd be long winded. And I believe, although we are covering a ton of ground, the miscommunication is coming in at, not exactly what is truth per se, but understanding the miscommunication is coming in at what type of truths, what level of truth are we talking about, right? Because there's levels to this, right? So when you say uh, uh, the majority of people that believe in Jesus Christ create an environment that reflects the existence of Jesus Christ, which means that to an extent he exists, even if just in their vicinity, he exists, because that's an environment where Jesus Christ flourishes, right? You can find Jesus Christ there. You might not be able to find him physically, but you can find Jesus Christ. Whatever you may want to know about Jesus Christ, you can find Jesus Christ there. But that's not the same type of truth as saying that water is an essential element for life, because no matter if you are a zebra, you know that you need water, right? So
Yeah.
that's a different type of truth. That's something that can't be debated. That's
Or
something that no
you
matter
see a
where you
lion.
are,
Interesting.
huh?
No, I was saying, or you see a lion. We both gonna run. That's the truth.
Right, that's right. So these are different type of truths that we're talking about. Whereas when I mention the way that air pressure works, that's more so a truth that is not one that nobody can deny like water, nor is it a truth that some people can subscribe to but others can't like religion. That
Hmm.
appears to be a truth that is determined on your like I said, your immediate circumstances and the environment, which kind of lean towards more so like the number of people believing in Jesus Christ.
Another thing too, right? Is like, this idea about water. You know, is it even water? You know, is the word water wet? It's like, well, no, the word water is not wet. Well, then how we know that's water then? It's just like, really, sorry
Right.
to do
Yeah.
that, but it's like we can bring, like, literally everything can be brought into question. Everything. And this is the things that cannot be brought into question, because there's things that you can't question. And that is like the inner conscious condition of the individual that's going through the experience. And what that individual do once they have the experience, they're going to use all these fucking tricky ass, manipulative ass ways to try to communicate that shit, and they will never get it done. And the thing is, they don't realize that you don't need to communicate it. It's been communicated to you
Mm-hmm.
without the need for communication.
Right.
I definitely like what right there. That shit hit the spot. I also wanted to say I definitely like what the concept we're talking about with this tree. I'm looking at it like, wow, what if all these little bubbles on this tree is like just different individuals that's looking at the same tree? One's on the left hand side on the bottom, one's on the right hand side on the top.
Interesting.
And exactly what we're talking about. These are all different truths of the same tree.
Mm.
I'm just thinking about that. That's all. I apologize
I
for
was
whatever I
thinking too while you guys was building. I was like, you know, these truths. Like when Terry was building, I was like, man, is it that these truths are true somewhere in the infinite reality that even the delusion is true? Like because actually we know that a lie is a part of a truth. Even if you say like, oh well, it's just the shadow of the truth, or it's
Mhm.
just a projection, or it's an inverted reflection, right? Or whatever, right? What it is not, it is what it is, and then what it is not, right? What it is not would be the lie. So it's like, you know, man, it's like is even those lies or whatever, right? Are these delusions true elsewhere, like in the scope of infinity, or you know, that's what like when I'm looking at this tree, that's what I think is like these different realities of different parts of space time or whatever, this projected idea, which itself is that it's a lie. Because think about it, right?
Mhm.
Separation is an illusion, right? We talked about that. Like we talked about like zeros and ones. And when we get to the one, like when we start to separate, like we start to like create like this identity it's negative, it's false, and it's negative, but like again we established that that's not good or bad, but
Right.
it's just negative, meaning like it's magnetic, and it's folding on itself because now it recognizes it's self-aware, like it has an identity, another identity within the identity, like you were talking about, like when Mental Ninja was talking about Brahma and dreaming, you know, the identities within the identity, you know, and that's like the truth within the, or the so-called lies within the truth. But could it be that a lie is a misplaced truth, or a truth out of place, or a truth in the wrong space-time, a truth in the wrong reality, so to speak?
That's crazy if you think about it, right? That can be a different, yeah, a different truth and a different reality. That,
Another thing too, right?
that is
Oh,
so
my bad.
crazy.
Yeah.
Nah, go ahead. I'm just saying that's so crazy how that whole concept of what he just said, like a truth being, but a truth, like if you want to look at a timeline, like a timeline where, yeah, a truth could be a lie could be an actual different dimension, a different timeline.
Yeah, like, when, like, if so, like the truth and lie, like if we we talked about, like, suggested that they're like two ends of a pole or two ends of a spectrum, like they're linked by, in reflection or opposition to each other, right? And they can just, like, polarities, they can switch polarity and shit just based on the observer and stuff. And it's like, scientists have looked or whatever, they've looked at, physicists have looked at atoms, and as long as you're looking at the atom, it doesn't go nowhere. But as soon as you look away, the atom moves. You know
Moves.
what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, theoretically, I don't know if that's true or not, but I like the way it sounds, right? And so basically, like with the truth, if the lie, just
under like the idea that we just pitched and stuff, if the lie is like misplaced, then like remember, we're dealing with reflection. That means the truth is also misplaced. But if the truth becomes misplaced, does it become the lie? Like when offense scores the basket and then automatically offense becomes defense, or is it
Right.
on static? When you're watching on your TV, is it one ball bouncing into another one, or one white ball moving into another one, or one white ball changing into another?
Mm.
You know,
So
what's
what?
really going on? We see this
I see.
oscillation happening. And with the idea between truth and lie, like Alan Watts, I like the way he said this. He's like, "Have you ever seen a misshapen cloud?" And he's like, "What? What? A
Exactly.
misshapen
So
cloud?
so it's
Is there
like you're
any?"
saying move. So you're saying like static is a lie, and movement is also has to be a lie too. Again, we get back to the zero of both and neither. So it's like it's neither. So it's like static. Like when
Yeah,
you're
you
static,
don't get
that's an
truth
illusion.
if the lie goes
Like
away, truth is
like
dead too.
space itself
They're
is an
like
illusion. Like
conjoined twins,
like
you know. So you
existing
can't
is an
separate
illusion.
these niggas. Yeah.
Movement.
So
So
look,
if existence is an illusion, then movement is an illusion, right? Because
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that.
oh
move.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
no matter where you go, there you at. You ain't moved one bit. Or like Alan Watts, he says, "Are we walking up the hill, or is the hill walking down you?" It's like, what the fuck, you know what
Oh shit, y'all tripping
I'm
me out.
saying? And like the whole idea is like, especially when we're looking at things from a dualistic perspective, are in my mind, I want to pick a side. I want to pick a label, pick a category, pick a team. I want to be on the side with the biggest guns. But like Aleister Crowley he says, balance every thought with its opposition, because the marriage of the two is the destruction of illusion. It's like, okay, so this is like a scientific process. So if I'm like, man, I love fucking cheesecake, I got to balance that thought with the opposite thought. I fucking hate cheesecake. And then put them together and see what comes up. Well, I might like cheesecake, but not every fucking day. You feel me?
Wow, bro. When you brought that concept with the hill thing, man, you know what it came up in my head when I be in the city. I don't live out there no more. On the train, bro. If you on the train, sometimes you just sit there and the other train moves. Doesn't it look like you're moving?
Yeah,
That whole
I've
shit be
seen that.
tripping me out, bro.
Hey, like, look, if a blind man is blind, how do I fucking know he's blind? Because I can't even see what he can see, and he can't fucking see, but he can tell you he's blind, which is perception in my mind. Trying to wrap my head around, like, so you can't see.
His
He's
eyes don't
like,
work. How about that? What can you
yeah,
say?
his eyes don't work. You know what I'm saying? But like, how do you know? You
Right.
can't.
They
Like,
wave their hand in front of his face and he doesn't have a reaction. He's like,
Right.
no, I
I
don't
think I
see
get.
anything moving. Like,
No,
I
but
think I
what
get what. I think I
what
get
if
what you're
he's
trying to say, because I think what you're trying to say is, although he could tell us he's blind, if we wanted to know what it is to be blind, how will we know without without me just taking your word that you see total darkness? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I wanted to know the dynamics of what it was that made you blind, what is it about your eyes that malfunction that caused you to be blind? That way, whether you tell me you're blind or not, I'll know what it is to be blind, right? So I think what you trying to, I think hopefully I'm not speaking for you, but I think that's what you was trying to say, and I just wanted to jump in because that kind of goes along the lines of this point I just wanted to throw out there, and I'm not sure if you guys mentioned it or not just yet because I've been in and out, but um, in the process of talking about the truth and various truths and levels of truths, and who the truth may apply to and who it may not apply to, for example, who needs water to survive. And then because we can't even say all living organisms. I don't even think all living organisms need water to survive. You got species that live in environments that are so hot, you know what I mean? Like places that humans could not survive. You got like organisms, whether we're talking about bacteria or whatever, they're alive, and that's the environment that they flourish in. And obviously, if they're in temperatures this hot, I don't even think water can survive in these type of environments. So what I'm trying to say is, once again, it appears that the truth is determined on your environment, and basically basically how you interact with your environment will determine what's true or not. Because like for example, the double slit experiment, where we know as soon as you consciously encounter something, in particular an atom, I believe it is, or a photon, or whatever the case might be for this experiment, as soon as you see it, as soon as you acknowledge it, it immediately changes to another like form. It turns into something else. But as long as
It's
nobody
way.
sees it, as long as
Mm-hmm.
nobody acknowledges it, it stays the same, right? So the truth about that atom or whatever it is that's changing is also affected just by us being conscious of it. So
Hey, you know, hey,
go
look, check this
ahead,
out.
go,
Right?
go ahead.
This is the fucked up part, right? This is the little joke, right? So when the scientist looks at the atom, it doesn't move. The scientist looks away, the atom has moved.
Mm-hmm.
Like nigga, that science, obviously you know who the atom is. You're the atom because you're the fucking one who moved. If you're looking at the atom, it's not moving. You're not moving either. And then you move, the atom has moved. So who moves first? The individually atom, or is the individually atom, or does the individually atom don't even exist? And it's the idea that we think we're moving. See, like these fucking wild ass questions that
Yeah.
niggas can't even. Those questions don't even come up when you're high, nigga. You feel me?
Right. So it's like what you're saying, like wave particle duality, right? So the when you talk about the double slit experiment or whatever, right? It's like it's a wave and it's a particle. So like the interference pattern, when observed, became a solid like particle, like it's spread across in dots that you like pixels you can measure type thing, and then it's a wave pattern, when not observed. So it's a wave. So it's
Yeah,
very
when you're
interesting.
looking at it, it's like when you're looking at it, you're altering the particle itself by your gaze on it. So it's almost in a sense,
Yeah.
I guess I'm gonna say theoretically, it would be as if the particle is watching itself. It's like, holy shit, who the fuck is that? It's like, nigga, I'm you. Because that's what the particle is. It is existing. And when you move your gaze, shift your gaze, you think the particle is moving, you just don't realize the particle is there too. It's everywhere. And that's like especially like if we could look at in quantum physics, Alan Watts, when he says, you are the universe experiencing itself, the universe gave itself the senses so it can explore and experience itself. And it is essentially not just you are what you eat, but it is exactly that you are exactly what you see. And one way we can prove that to be a fundamental fact is because you are the one who's seeing it and it's all happening, it's all being processed in your head. We think like, and the thing about the blind man, right? If you want to like the best, probably one of the best ways we can probably, what does blindness feel like? What does it look like? Oh, like if I'm now blind, like now I know what it looks like, nigga. We still have an idea that there's some kind of sight, but try to like if you're looking forward right now in your house or wherever you're at, if you're look forward and try to think of what color it is behind you and see what you come up with. Doesn't matter if you know what your house looks like or whatever, but try to think what color it is behind you. And if you're doing it right, there's not going to be nothing represented. There's not even going to be a
You
color.
got to
It's not
tell
going to be
yourself.
nothing.
You got to keep telling yourself like it's this, because
Yeah,
your
You
house,
have to
right?
tell yourself it's this. Because
what
if
does
you
it look like
don't,
behind me right now? It's like there's this fucking. What do you mean? There's like there's a space in your mind that can't equate it. It's like there's non-existence back there.
Exactly.
It's crowd. I'm looking forward. I'm looking into or out of or both.
Right.
And behind me, well, it's gone. It's the nothing from the
It's the
motherfucking
nothing.
Everything story, nigga. Not
See?
even a hole.
See, it's crazy, right? So it's like nothingness and infinity again. It's like that 0 and that 1 again, right? It all just, it's like those are really like the only numbers that, are there. Like it's like 0 and 1. It's like, so it's like, it's nothingness is infinity. It's like infinity is nothingness. Like we have the truth as the lie and the lie as the truth, depending on perspective. So what again, I bring up the ancient axiom that all truths are but half true. And so if you measure that in your mind and you do thought experiments with that, you'll find that that's actually a half-true statement. and so yeah, so it's true. Is it true? But is it, you know what I'm saying? So I think that just the nature of the reality is one that we have that level of exploration, like you were saying, like the universe within itself, exploring. Like it's supposed to be that certain level of exploration. And so, but there's a greater picture. There's a bigger picture. So there's the smaller picture in our immediate reality that we can say, like we all been talking about, that subjective truth. And then we have that what appears to be that objective truth. But we know, in fact, that it actually has an inverse. So we know that it's half true. So we know that there's an inverse to that same what we call objective truth. So again, the inverse to infinity would be nothingness, right? It's like it nothing really matters, but everything really matters. And so it's like it's constantly, it's like almost like zeros and ones, like which side of the switch are you on? It's almost like that's really what we're dealing with, is like everything keeps coming back to like perspective. And then we have to really explore, like, what is perspective? Because real quick, I just want to say this, and then you got it, bro. I'm gonna switch it. But what was I about to say? Like, when you think about that inverse, that half trueness, right? Let's think about that. We talk about like how we can look at each other and perceive ourselves. What's up, Ray? Little bro, Ray just joined. Good looks. Appreciate you for being here, bro. We think about ourselves as separated in like different people. Like we're like, oh, you're that person that grew up that way. You had your life, and then you're like, no, you're that person. And then you're that person. Da da da. And it's like we see each other as separate, but guess what? That's half true. So then, what's the inverse? Well, somewhere in reality, obviously beyond our immediate perception, physical perception, we're not separated, because that's the inverse of what we are right now. So we can see in reality that things are half true, and that the other end of it is another truth. It's a perspective change.
Yeah, like with the thing, like, I keep bringing up Alan Watts. I don't know, me and JP, like, he listens to Alan Watts and shit.
Yeah, I like
Alan
when you
Watts,
bring up Alan Watts. I don't like when you bring up Crowley,
that
though.
Nigga is one of the sickest niggas ever. He's literally one of the sickest niggas in history, bro, because he was able to fucking quantify Buddhist, ancient Vedic and Buddhist understanding into fucking physics, like real shit that we can fuck with and stuff. Like, so, everybody is separate. I view as everything, like he says, everything is unintelligent. It has no meaning, has no purpose. It's just mundane. Physical rocks are just unintelligent and shit. When it's like, I don't realize like that I'm viewing the rock. So I am giving if the rock can't view itself, but it has to be viewed, because we're dealing with infinite infinity with a 0 point that is also infinity. You know what I'm saying? And then also, if you throw that with a double slot experiment, and you can look on the screen, it's like the photon laser. It had like these two view holes. You know what I'm saying? And it shows the particle patterns based on the view hole, based on the photon laser and shit. So the photon laser would basically become the 0 point that needs to like, the infinite needs to fucking focus its infinity on a certain thing. Otherwise, it stays infinite. So that's the word. Finite is in the word infinite. So you have both happening at the same time. So once the infinite is able to condense or intention or will or speak into existence of a single vision, then it can actually perceive an aspect of itself. It can't perceive all of it, because it's the infinite itself. It only like piecemeal, a little bit at a time, maybe a broad landscape, but you're only going to see within a certain field of vision, right? Now, if everybody is separate, okay, that makes sense. I can see how that can work. But then, like Alan Watts says, come on, everybody's I. You all know you're you. And when he said that shit, it fucking threw me. Hey, nigga, I almost jumped out the window. I was like, God damn, nigga. So it's like niggas like, hey, man, I'm me. And I'm like, nah, nigga, I'm me. And he's like, nah, homie, you're you. I'm like, bro, check this out. I'm me, you're you. And then nigga looks at me confused. He's like, well, who the fuck are we? You know what I'm saying? It's like, we're all together. We're all connected. We all have the same thing going on. But the thing is, it's the idea of separation. It is an idea. But if we look at it in a quantum mechanic or astrophysics, whatever word you want to use to determine and stuff, it's basically the universe, the infinite of existence, or the triple darkness, can only do certain things at a certain time because it's still within the wraps of its own infinity. So it becomes finite for a moment.
Exactly.
But it's infinite, so all the infinite parts are becoming finite at once, which still becomes infinite finites.
Exactly.
And then you look around you like, oh my God, down to the fucking the fucking ash of the cigarette, the sweater, the fucking all the particles that make up your fucking carpet is all parts of that infinite expression. And
That's
the thing
light.
is, you can feel it, but it can't feel itself until you feel it. Now it's feeling itself. What came first, the sound or the ear? Well, the ear created the sound so it can have something to listen to, and the sound created the ear so it can be heard. It's the same thing in reflection of a place that doesn't exist, which is called triple darkness.
Yeah, and that's why you have the cycle of birth and death and the linear form of time, because time is processing what you just said, which is that temporary manifestation, which is an illusion. Because again, we go back to nothingness and infinity, and so out of infinity, something is actually nothing. And so that's what we see with everything, and that's why the zero, we get back to the zero, and that's the true place. Because but what actually like Misha says, I think in this case is one of those situations where the language is a barrier, because what we call nothing, I think there's a different way to see that. Like, because we look at it as like, oh, it's nothing, like it's like nothing.
Nothing could be everything.
It is. Well, yeah, nothing is everything, right? But it's almost the inverse or the other expression of that. But that's a dualistic view of it. So really it is everything. That's true. I agree.
Well, nothing is actually one thing, which is the sum thing, which is basically means the sum of things. The sum means the highest or the most count.
And it cancels itself out.
It actually completes it. It does cancel stuff out, like we talked about the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail and stuff, and life and death cycle and stuff. But remember, like, a day of a man is like or 1,000 years like a fucking some shit. A 1,000 years for a man like the breath of God or whatever. And okay, well, how's that working? What we're talking about? If we look at the infinite points of infinity, all at one time becoming finite. But it can't be all finite at one time because it'll be the same thing. Nothing has changed. So it flares up, pop, 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 it's sparking and shit in all these different places, like infinitely, like this big bang shit that never fucking ceases. But it begins and ends, and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's perceived from different aspects because once the big bang becomes finite in one aspect of infinity, then it ceases because infinity clashes back on itself, and it begins another place where really it's not moving at all. It's the same thing. Like
it's never there. It's like the expression of it. The expression of it being temporary is the evidence of it never actually existing.
It's like you know how niggas they try to open up a wormhole and it starts to spark and it collapses back and it sparks and it collapses back and shit. That's kind of like what we're talking about. So when we have something, nothing, as soon as we say nothing, it has become one thing. And it is not one thing, it is like not thing. It is not one thing. It is the sum of nothing, which is still itself. It is an infinite amount of nothings. But the thing is, every time it becomes something or one thing, it goes back to becoming the sum of things, which goes back to being nothing. So,
you know what? Oh, cascade of thoughts just happened when you said that. That was an epiphany.
Run it.
Okay, so boom. So that reminded me of the Great Reset. In the one world order, when you combine it and you make that one identity, it resets. It goes to zero. Right?
Look, I wanted to bring this up last night, but I didn't want to keep us on too long. My girl was making more noises and shit. But like when we're talking about this cybernetic fucking chip and uploading everybody's personalities or consciousness into a fucking some kind of server or some shit. That is basically, it almost seems that is a natural, I'm not saying I'm for or against, but to consider like what it is. Well, it's the natural form of completion, but we're here experiencing, so we don't get to know about how it works because we're the finite aspect of the infinite. But if the end game is everybody's consciousness going to be uploaded into this server, it's just a fucking an expression of the all be all, the above the abyss that we're talking about, this infinite and shit, and we're all, it's the sum of things, and it collapses back on itself, and then like you said, there's the great reset, and it happens all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big boy reset on the way. Because even if it's good though, like I'm saying, even if it was like under good circumstances, like not this like looming so-called NWO program, whatever, etc. But not even that, but just like even just under like more like light circumstance, like oh yeah, everybody's happy and we're all coming together, and it's like even if you did it that way, it would still go to zero.
Hey, look, what does the Bible say? The old heaven and earth shall pass, and new heaven and earth shall begin. Like, if that isn't like, I'm not saying the Bible niggas is really walking on water. I'm not saying that we ought to become Christian, but if I look at the Bible itself as a book of science, a book of metaphysics, a book of astrology and astrotheology, and an expression of how we can look and understand our material world and our inner in the unmaterial world on the inside and shit. And we can use that same approach to the Quran, to the Bhagavad Gita, to the Mahabharata, and all these other religious texts or tomes and shit, which would actually not be like these books, but they would more serve as residual forensic evidence of what we're talking about. Like energy cannot be created or destroyed, just changes shape. And and it appears to change position, but that's the shape that's actually changing the position of the shape. I hope that makes sense.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's like in binary, there's like positive 0 and negative 0. We learned that like 0 going is like it's building towards the positive 1 or it's building towards the negative 1, and that's really basically how you can sum that up. And so, I think that depending on that polarization of oneness is the 0 is the so-called polarized 0, but of what again it resets towards type of thing. And so so yeah, when it resets, it's going a direction, and then it's either going that negative direction or it's going the positive direction. And so it's still that same refracting pattern still going. Like it's amazing how that happens.
It's oscillating. Hey, look, this is I just came to my mind. Like, I guess we do have like a example of how we can explain the 0 moving positive and moving negative. Mm-hmm. So you see that movie Chronicles of Riddick?
Oh yeah.
That's a sick ass fucking movie, right?
It's like a trilogy.
That's a sick ass movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Chronicles of Riddick, the necromonger, the king, that nigga was able to move faster than he could than the fucking physical. He's running across niggas, socking niggas and shit, right? Mm-hmm. And he hasn't moved yet, and he'll catch up to himself. You know what I'm saying? But then Riddick stole on that nigga and sent that nigga fucking soul back, and his body had to catch up. So while he's moving forward, that's 0 moving to positive, which is still negative because you're moving away from duality or altruism, whatever. And then like when Riddick socks that nigga and sends his soul backwards, you know what I'm saying? That shows the actual soul, the actual 0 moving negative, but still it's moving positive because it's the same. Because when you have negative available, positive is right there with it. That's what makes negative what it is, because the relationship it has with positive. So you can't take negative by itself. Negative always move in relation to positive.
Right.
Literally like a dance.
So yeah, so like a dance. So we get back into the Taurus field again. And so I think that's another like kind of mystery of the Taurus field that we just kind of explained, that you just explained there. Like it splits and back into duality when it comes back to oneness, like it's the perception of it coming as one thing. It's not that. It's like constantly moving, like in that and away from, because it has to. Because it's like when it does the one thing, that automatically, like you said, when you score, you change sides. Like now you went from offense to defense. It's literally like that. Like it's automatic. It's like a seesaw. Like it has to happen that way. Like it's a mechanical connection. Like that's the level of connection we're dealing with. So if that's the case, then we know that obviously there's a place for all things. But we can also say that, well, separation is an illusion, choice is an illusion, time is an illusion, space is an illusion. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
They're
even
true
like
to us, obviously. Those things are true to us right now. Even money, right? As a product, as money as currency or current, right? Currency. It's the energy, it's the electricity, the currency. What they call the lifeblood, which if you look at your blood vessels, looks like some lightning bolt type shit. You know, like coming out of the sky. Like your blood vessels are like lightning, like energy, like lightning. You know.
You know, it's kind of funny. Like, so we're talking about things being illusionary, or not even just maybe illusion, like a strong word, but temporary is like might be like a little bit more of like more accurate, you know, way to assume it or quantify it, because it's happening. It's popping and it's gone. It's popping, it's gone, like a breath of life and shit. Or like okay, back to Alan Watts. That nigga talking about the wave. He said the wave and the crest is all one thing. You know what I'm saying? We see it as the white foamy part, you know what I'm saying? And then the wave under it. But the foamy part is an aspect of what the wave is doing, because the wave is in an appearance of motion and change. Yet the wave is still part of a greater thing called the actual ocean itself, which is involved in all kinds of change. I mean, if you look at the ocean, and if you could actually have like some kind of algorithm that'll run up the numbers and all the changes, I'm pretty sure it would break itself. It would go to an exponential level that you can't quantify it no more, because once you think you got to the top, more changes are being reproduced. So like in the Bible, it kind of says that same shit. You know what I'm saying? When it's talking about the tree of life. So he says, you can eat from this tree, but don't eat from this tree. Right. And they eat from the tree he says not to eat from. So he kicks them out the garden because they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which is puts them on the path of duality and cycle. And he said, let's kick them out, because let's not them eat from the tree of life, because they will be stuck that way eternally. And if it becomes stuck that way right there, then it stops the fucking process from being able to recombinate itself and become, what's the best word? Infinitely temporary. And you have like in Star Trek, a temporal displacement and shit. And a temporal displacement is literally something popping up out of nowhere for a moment of time, and it disappears. It's an anomaly.
So look, that's so dope that we're building right there. Like I love that you said that, bro. Because look, check this out, right? It's the temporal lobe, but like the temporal, like you said, is popping up right then. But temporal as defined, right? Did you just see that? I had the definition up there. Temporal, as a defined. Look, it's secular. It's secular. You know, it's opposed to spiritual affairs or secular. So if you think about that, right, let's just take it at the face. Let's not get into the Christian part of that or the implications. We just say, okay, relating to a worldly as opposed. So worldly is matter, the matrix. You know, it's relating to the matrix is, again, it's all self-evident. And the matrix is light. It's temporary light. It's popping up and it's going away, you know, which is what this reality is. That's exactly what it is, because that's why everything dies. Or we perceive that it dies. It's that same motion of temporal nature. So they say it here. It's relating to worldly as opposed to spiritual affairs, aka secular. Well, that just means it's a part of the matrix, the physical, what we have referred to as the lower self or the lower aspect. Because again, if you have a lower aspect, then you have a higher aspect, which is just across the pond from this. Like you're looking from this angle towards something, and you're saying that's the higher aspect. But those are just words.
Hey, type in the Eye of Horus.
Or actually, let me do a new one.
And pull up the image of it.
Eye of Heru? No, I'll go Horus.
Yeah. I have the hero.
Right. There you go.
Eye of Horus, Eye of Ra, whatever. Heru.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now you see that, right? Now type in the Eye of Horus, add to it the Eye of Horus and the brain. Go back up to the search bar and add and the brain.
There you go. Yep. I'm familiar.
Yeah, and type add and the brain.
I did. I'm familiar with this.
All right.
This is this is
So
good.
boom, right there. Where's it? Where's that eye horse located? Where the actual eye is, the all-seeing eye, the
Mm-hmm.
temporal lobe. And what does eyes do? They see, and eyes also have the equipment to blink. It sees for a period of time, for a limit. You know what I'm saying? So going with the idea that we just pitched, you know what I'm saying, about the temporal lobe and like temporal fluxes and shit from the Star Trek, even though I don't believe in space like that. Inner space in this concept can be kind of, make a little bit of sense and stuff, but it's temporal, it's temporary. You know what I'm saying? Because the eye is all seeing. However, the eye has to be able to see. You know what I'm saying? So that for the reason of seeing is exploration. So back to Alan Watts, he says the farther you go up, the farther it goes because the universe has to escape the investigation.
Right. Exactly. That is what quantum these guys who deal in the quantum physics. I listen. I just go by the knowledge. If they're providing things that make sense, then I'm okay. That's good. Thumbs up.
We
But
kill we killing their ass right now. We
yeah,
gonna probably get some letters in the mail, nigga, talking about we think we we need to have y'all on the TED Talks.
but yeah, it's beautiful. As far as like just knowing the nature of reality where it's taking place, and we understand like light being that boom crystallization, because it's that eternal now. When they talk about the now, I mean, this is really what it is. It's like now is that brief, ever fading, by the way. It's always in motion, by the way, because it can never be nailed down, by the way, because that would be against its nature as everything and nothing. you know
I mean,
um
look, they even tried to nail Jesus to a cross. That nigga got away.
you funny, man.
I know.
But yeah. But yeah, man,
And
that's
you know
funny
that
that
thing
you
about the
said that
human,
about Jesus. We're gonna definitely get into that build.
hey,
That's
the
coming
human
up.
brain,
Not
right?
right now, but yeah.
With the human, hey, look, with the human brain, they look at the activity on an encephalograph, right? And you see that the human brain has these sparking, these lightning type things going on, pop, flaring up in here. And so you can see like when you say certain things or they see certain colors or hear certain sounds or smell certain smells, or the body experiences certain, physical sensations, it
Yeah.
it sparks parts of the brain and shit. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the idea behind the dendrites in the brain. You know what I'm saying? Dendritic growth and shit is
Hmm.
they actually spark themselves, and every spark kind of creates more of itself to where that's more like new. Like right now, we're all experiencing dendritic brain growth, literally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Look at the
if we look
folds.
at
Like the
was
folds
that
are the folds the reflections. Like you see how our brains fold. Like the folds are these the reflections of like it's folding on top of itself. Like how like an image cascading. Like we talk about the mirror in the mirror. Are these the physical emanations, like the physical manifestations of that? These same concepts on a different place or a different frequency. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is like this this self or how we view ourselves as we can study in all the teachings of from ancient times to now in our own experience when we did get into meditation and things like that. We can see that there's another aspect um, to existence, than just what we determine is physical or just the physical five senses. And people even say they have a sixth sense and things of that nature. Really, it's many more, but they say sixth sense. This is like there's things happening beyond the physical. This is something that can be proven. Really, you can prove this with your own reality. Um, a lot of every single thing that's happening is not like even your thoughts. Like you can create an image that's not this reality in your mind. Like you can think of an apple and it's there and it's not here. And so it's demonstrating that that we can perceive beyond this reality, right? So there's more to it than just being able to think and imagine. Like a lot of these guys talked about imagination, and they're right. You know, imagination, right? The Magination. You know, I'm Magination. And so when you're imaginating, you're like, yo, I'm part of the Magination. You know, you really getting, so you're it's what is the magic? Well, what is magic? The magi is one who performs magic, but magic is not something that's unnatural, and it's not something that's like, the spookism that a lot of people get into, and they look so goofy with a lot of the stuff that they do. But I'm not here to judge them and stuff, but it looks really goofy with a lot of stuff that these people do, a lot of these societies, and not pointing any fingers. I'm definitely not pointing fingers or anything like that. Just my opinion overall.
I was
just a generalization.
Aleister Crowley says one of his quotes. Jesus said, the Bible says. So Aleister Crowley. I just called myself right. That nigga said, life is magic. Like he said, life is literally magic. You know what I'm saying? And it's all for anybody to interpret, right? But when you say like, are those folds? That reminds me of if you've seen Westworld, the Westworld brain mind puzzle. You know what I'm saying? And it was Isaac Newton that says, the Bible said no. Isaac Newton says the universe, life is a puzzle that is meant to be figured out. You know what I'm saying? Which I really fucking like that and shit, regardless of, what we're taught that he believed or didn't believe and shit, his sexuality, whatever the shit, you know what I'm saying? I do like good quotes that inspired thought for myself. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole, I could care less. Like, I'm not here to characterly judge,
we're not characterly judging Aleister Crowley or anything like that. I get you, man. It's not like that. I mean, Aleister Crowley obviously is capable of dropping bombs. Like, he drops bombs. Like, obviously, he has a whole cultic following, like, amongst like,
that nigga be dropping. Look, that nigga drops bombs, but then that nigga also fucking had this one nigga that was like, fuck, this gay dude was like in love with him. So he's like, all right, fuck it, you love me that much? Let's go out to the Sahara Desert. And he got that nigga high on DMT and then fucked him in his ass while doing some ritual and shit. Which is like, nigga, okay, Crowley, you just fuck. I ain't hanging with you, the niggas. You be doing weird shit like that, nigga.
Yo, just to remind you, man. But that's crazy. That's out of control. That's why I don't deal with Crowley. I don't even deal with Crowley at all. Like, that's my personal stance on Crowley. I don't deal with Crowley at all. Because you know why I don't deal with Crowley? Because I don't have to. Because the truth is everywhere. The truth is ever evident. It's always evident.
Y'all fuck with Crowley.
Nobody has a monopoly on the truth. We've already agreed on that. We established that truth is free. It's because it's there.
Even if somebody does have a monopoly on that shit, they's got a fucking, you get shit in one hand and you have a monopoly of truth in the other, nigga. It's an illusion, my nigga. But Crowley's like basically what you get of a super intelligent, charismatic person with a lot of fucking horrible character defects, like horrible, the worst kinds you could possibly want to have and shit. You know what I'm saying? So like each one's to find their own thing. And like the whole thing, there is. And he says, I don't want to start a flock. I don't want to start a flock of fetishes and fools. No, I want every man to carve their own way to the jungle. I'm like, I can fuck with that, my nigga.
He got the inverse of what he wanted because he did. Yeah, do that.
Well, he did his thing and shit. But at the end of the day, I just I kind of think that was part of what he was doing. And I think that a lot of people look, bro. You know how many motherfuckers I done met in the OTO that think and to tell them I said I believe they're Aleister Crowley reincarnated. Like, nigga, they don't even want to be them.
Exactly.
Like, nigga, now you want to be this person, but you're still being you're still you, and you're running from that fact.
Exactly. At least you get it. Though, man. That's beautiful. That's good. That we got to see these things, man. We have to see these things. That's clear. Definitely appreciate that, man. But
for sure.
I appreciate but you know what's crazy, bro? Is like I was just joking, just like you were just joking, bro. Like we was a reflection in that sense that Aleister Crowley, I ain't gonna lie, there was truth in my joke. Like there's truth in lie. Like the lie is true. Like like I actually really mean that shit. Like I really don't fuck with Aleister Crowley, but at the same time, I'm actually not really knocking it because I do understand that, like I did acknowledge, he just spits facts. It's just things that you know, we all are reflecting of each other at the end of the day. He's a part of that. And so, like I said, the lie is a part of the truth. You know what I'm saying? Not to just relegate him to a lie, you know. I don't mean to, you know, I'm joking again, but
it's like, well, what part of is a lie part of the truth? Like, nigga, what part of the truth do you want to be true? Nigga, what part of the truth do you want to be a lie?
What part of the truth is the
what
lie?
you looking for, that's Captain Ahab. I'm gonna get that whale. But the whale,
I think that's how. But cognitive dissonance allows that for people to stay in that zone where they get that well. Like they're gonna hunt that well because it's like, you know, I have to keep believing. You know, like I have to keep believing that it's this or it's that or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm stuck. Remember, we're talking about a temporary thing that doesn't actually exist. So if you're holding on to it and you're trying to do like that's that delusion. You know, it's like you sleepwalking or something like. You know, it's like
you know, since you brought that up, right? So in AA, when we're in the we agnostics, which is basically it's basically step 2, when you're taking a guy through the book, you want to try to prep him, especially like I have 2 sponsees. One is an atheist, and one is a Buddhist, but it's more agnostic and polarized against Christianity. That makes this person agnostic. So, and we agnostics, where the whole goal is like, you know, through suggestion, through the book, what the reading says, is to open the individual up, or allow the individual to open themselves up to the possibility that there is a better way, that there is a better life, whatever, or a higher power, a higher ideal to align oneself with, right? And there's this one thing it says, like, it goes to Appendix 2, which is in the back of the big book. And Appendix 2 goes to this, at the end of the Appendix 2, it talks about William James, the variety of spiritual experiences. And then also it ends with a quote by Herbert Spencer. And to go along with the cognitive dissonance thing, as you said, and this is the quote: "There is a principle which is a bar against all information, which is proof against all argument, and which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. This principle is contempt prior to an examination." And like, when we ask the question, why do flat earth globetrotters get mad and this and that, a lot, and it's, look, this shit still exists in my own mind, contempt prior to investigation. Cause I have so many things in my mind, like, no, that's the truth, that's how it's going to be. So right there, I'm already biased towards any possibility that might not be true. So when we're talking about things of being illusion, I'm almost opened up a little bit more to like give a little bit more leeway when questioning some age-long held beliefs I've had in my own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like while we play in this game of like this light show of like how the lightning bug just like lights up real quick and it's like bleep, and it just does a little flash right there in the nighttime, and you see it and it's like a light and it disappears and you don't see it anymore.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was talking on mute. My bad, bro. But I was saying like how you see the light. I think I was still on YouTube though, but I was muted in here. But like I was saying, like how you see the lightning bug, you know, just flash and you know, disappear in the darkness. It's like that temporary, worldly, like matrix, you know, light encoded flash of, I thought it existed, but it didn't. Here now, gone now. You know,
hey, look,
like it's here now and gone now at the same time. That's why we always have the perception of progression, but it's in a linear
it's like
format.
trying to catch a light bug, bro. You know, you live in Georgia. You still got light bugs out there and shit. You see them bitches pop, and then they go on either get close.
That's what I just said. Yeah, exactly.
But look in that bottom right corner where it shows like the guy on the side and it shows in the front. It says brain teaser ready to stimulate. Click on that one.
Brain teaser. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
It's probably delayed on the thing. I already clicked on it.
All right. Like, look how the fucking the frontal picture looks like. It looks like upside inverted lungs, but it also looks like the testes and also the egg, the ovaries of a woman.
Indeed.
You know what I'm saying? And when we talk about new thought,
it seems to be 3, right? You notice the three stack? It seems to all relate to that. Like in some way has some kind of 3 stack in a way. I don't know.
And so also when we have this idea of what split brain is, this is how split brain works. There's like, you see that line going up the middle of the mind. Now there's a thing where some people are like, I guess they're born or something. I think they're more born with it, but they're the synapses or whatever in the mind, the dendrites, they don't connect the left to the right. So you can show them a hammer and they will say, oh, that's a hammer. And you put the hammer in their hand and they won't know what the fuck it is because of the communication between the left side and the right side and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's called split brain. But like, if we're looking at, the idea that impregnation doesn't just come through, the actual sexual male, female, gender, biology intercourse, but that the same phenomenon can be reproduced within the mind. And of course, the Vedics have that with the idea of Tantra and the motherfucking Kundalini serpents. The RZA talks about that shit in a couple songs and shit, you know what I'm saying? And then like once the chakras are activated to the top, and that nigga said this shit on one of the Grave Digger songs or whatever. Once the chakras are energized to the back of the spine, up to the base of the neck, something happens within the mind and shit, and this new reality, this new psychic nature is born from that. You know what I'm saying? I just want to say that.
That makes sense.
It sounds like you do. It sounds like what you do. It sounds like you describing what happens when people say they've opened their third eye. Generally speaking, the serpent being a representative of the Kundalini energy is basically a representative. Just the same way you have these images of the skull and the human anatomy, and the visuals that we get when we look at them, is the same thing that the Egyptians did with their monuments that they made, even the pharaohs, and how they dressed. This is probably something that you guys are familiar with, but it's something that the majority of people touch on, deal with, and don't actually know what they're dealing with. For example, we all love Tutankhamun and the sarcophaguses, and we all love looking at the monuments from Egypt and the pharaoh, but nobody really know what they're looking at. And even with the Hathor, the goddess, the mother cow, why a cow type thing? You know what I'm saying? Why did they choose certain animals? Why did they dress a certain way? It's because they were emulating human anatomy. For example, like you mentioned, the female reproductive system is in the shape of a cow's head, with the ears and, the mouth and things of that nature, which is why Hathor was represented by the cow. And, so basically what I'm trying to say is, just like the human anatomy was represented, the Kundalini is a representative of a fluid, an actual fluid that actually exists, which is said to rise up, past your 33rd vertebrae, entering your head and bypassing. It's a fluid. You know what I mean? And
it's basically when instead of like releasing the sexual energy through orgasm, you basically bring it in, and it starts from that area, from like the prostate and the testes or whatever, or respectively the same area for the woman, and that energy is forced back up through the spine. Now, one thing too, so you have the word pineal gland, which is the third eye, right? On top of that, it is almost phonetically the same word as penile, or the penis is called like the pineal or something like that. It's really almost the same fucking word. And we're looking as far as like this idea of like the Kundalini and stuff and sending the orgasm into the pineal gland. It's like it's the same thing as sending the orgasm through the penis or the pineal, right? The pineal, which is the same thing
it's
as
like
pineal.
Opposite.
Same
You're saying
word.
like it's a lower penis and a higher penis, basically.
Yeah, you send it
respectfully.
Out, and you send it in, you know what I'm saying? And out would be more like and I'm not going to say lower in a negative way, but more the basic biological function for the purpose of procreation. But there's an inner for a way to do it. Now, another thing too, when you said like the cross section of the human, the female biology, as far as like the ovaries and stuff, is a cow, and that's where they get there with the thing of Hathor and shit. Yeah. Also, in Hebrew or in the Judaic Christianity sense, it looks like it's a lamb too. And then you have the lion, right, which should be the crown, the highest chakra of Kether or the crown chakra. You also have, and also the lion also represents the word loins for the man. You have the dove, right, which is talking about ascension, right? And then you have the serpent, and that's like the actual Kundalini, the serpent, and you have the lamb, Mary's little lamb and shit. You know
Little
what I'm saying?
lamb,
So
little
like
lambski.
these
Snubs.
motherfuckers, bro. The science of these books and shit is human biology. It's also astrobiology. Like it's also astrobiology and astral biology.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I agree. I'm looking at this brain. You know what I think? I think, why is it 3 all the time with this temporal lobe? It seems to be stacked. Sometimes it's like it's cut off and it's like it goes around, but it still kind of makes a 3-layer pattern, right? So I think, is that because of third dimension? So what if you had more folds on your temporal lobe? Does that mean you're in more dimensions, or your brain can perceive
You know
more,
what?
or you're
It might
actively
be.
like? Because I think it's dealing with like what's the reality, right? Like the matter.
Possibly. And you know what I was going to say? A good place to start would be in the dolphin brain, because dolphins have larger brains than humans. And obviously, when you increase the size of the brain, you obviously want to check on the intelligence level, right? Because if in order to increase, or like you using the words that you use, I'm trying not to misrepresent what you said. In order to get more than that third layer, which it sounds like what you said you're trying to do, you're trying to increase the layer to possibly see if that generates a different dimension. I think that's what you said. Like I said, we have the dolphin brain, which is a larger brain than the human brain. uh,
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
in the dolphin brain is, if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but it might be the most intelligent animal in the animal kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not the most intelligent, then it's definitely like top 3. But it might be the most intelligent. But the point I'm trying to make is that obviously, when we dealing with bigger brains, we still want to make sure that the intelligence doesn't diminish, because what's the use of having a bigger brain, or possibly even talking about being in a different dimension, if you're not utilizing intelligence, if intelligence is not a factor? But then that may open up a different can of worms as to what exactly is intelligence, and is intelligence necessary for each dimension? Because
Like
I might argue
Or what
I
we
might
perceive
argue
as intelligence, right? It's like our perception of
yeah, what we
intelligence.
perceive, because like you have people that are on a level on a spectrum of autism, like the fucking Rain Man, like niggas who can fucking remember everything they fucking see, photographic
right.
memory. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Read fucking a whole book by just looking at. Some people, bro, have been known to touch books and know everything in it. Like we're talking about individuals that are like operating in a level that, I mean, to me, it sounds like science fiction, but I know I can't prove it's actually true. I've never met anybody like really. I have met a person with a high functioning autism and stuff, but it wasn't like anything, I guess, to me that made me think like, oh, this nigga's impressive. He's actually funny looking and shit, really. So I thought the latter. But like, they really is like you said, that brings the question on, what do we actually consider intelligence? Because without the ego, the personality, the body knows exactly what to fucking do. Like when I get cut, I don't be like, oh shit, yo, I gotta go home. I gotta fucking make sure I fucking all these cells are healing the right. They should do it on its own. I don't wake myself or put myself to sleep. I don't work my thyroid gland. So there is an intelligence that is working autonomously without my fucking dictatorship over it, that seems to match the operation of the sun, moon, stars, and the weather systems and shit. Like, and I don't have to do those things, but they operate the same way as inside of my body. So maybe the goal is, and in a lot of these secret societies and mystery schools, you'll get to a grade or a class or level or degree, or what you want to call it, where the introductory of start studying the inner nature of man, the biology, and start studying the outer nature of man, the biology of the nature itself, and see if you can find links and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing is supposed to be done like, first you get the appetizer. First you sit down at the table, then you get to order your food. Then you get the appetizer, you get your water, you get your appetizer. Then you get the main course, then you get dessert, and then you fucking pack up and leave and shit. So theoretically, the degree system in these secret societies are designed to piecemeal certain little bits of information, you know, and the individual, of course, they're going to come to their own assumptions of them. And of course, you do have individuals that want to lead people's assumptions to a certain assumption that's not going to be their own, but like somebody else's for a purpose of fucking control, really. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So they could generate the reality that they want, sort of kind of like when Christians, you know, in their community generate a reality that reflects Jesus Christ. So, and let's just use Jesus Christ as an example. I really don't have no, you know, beef with Jesus. Like, you know, he you know,
Yeah,
Jesus has been, Jesus has
be
gone
he
saying,
through
cool with
enough.
you. Yeah,
Huh?
he cool.
Say what?
Damn, Jesus, people's turned on them. They let them get killed, man. That's horrible.
Nah, we
No,
understand
they
both of
didn't. No, they didn't.
every
No, they
analogy.
didn't.
Jesus, yeah, I got you.
Hey,
No,
the
they
niggas.
didn't.
Hey, look, the nigga snitched on him, bro. And I hate snitches, so I'm cool with Jesus.
No, they was actually very vital to God's whole plan, right? Because if Jesus would never got snitched on, he wouldn't able to been killed and he wouldn't able to die for our sins. So it was very important for him to get snitched on. That's actually a good thing, right?
Well, hey, look, on top of that, right, and to get really deep into that storyline, like Jesus is God. Like literally in that storyline, Jesus is God on earth. So literally God fucking like had non-consensual sex with his own mother so he can give birth to himself and he can save the world that he had condemned. So it does make sense. When you say it like that.
Yo,
What the fuck?
That's wild.
yeah, son, that was a
That's
mind.
kind of that's borderline disrespectful, bro. Like, you know, let's keep it
Hey.
respectful. You know what I mean? Just, you know, because I got homies that are Christian and everything, bro. So
Hey, look, it was my little Dave Chappelle moment. All right, so just let me have my piece.
you got it. You
Go
got
ahead,
it. You got it. I see you. But nah, man, it's a amazing build. You know what I'm saying? This is proven to be something that's definitely moving towards something incredible. This is great. But I'm looking at this dolphin brain, and you know,
Yeah.
it's folded real crazy. You know, it's got a lot of folds going on here compared to the human brain. I mean, it's got the lung, we got the dual lung kind of look, you know, going on there. These guys,
Looks like rivers.
it made me think. It made me think that different parts of ourselves could be like different dimensional, you know, emanations of ourselves. Like we're multidimensional.
Are you basically saying, and I'm already in agreement if that's what you're saying, that the hearing exists in its own dimension, the sight exists in its own dimension, all the different, the pinky, every aspect of ourselves. I mean, if we want to, we don't even know how big this like fucking little, you know, treasure trove of conversation we just stumbled onto through the pitch, right? Is that if that's the situation, I mean, okay, we got the major body parts, the major systems, and we got fucking cells, nigga. We don't even know how many of them are. So like each one of them is operating in his own dimensional aspect. Then like literally every human being is a walking multi-dimensional.
There's like a whole dimension that it
artifact.
belongs to. Like I can see that.
Hey, yo, what's the homie doing? Yo, what the homie with the headphones doing, son? He singing?
Nah, I think he listens to the video or something. That's little bro Ray right there.
So Ray into that shit, son. Okay. Nah,
Hey yo, I want to throw this out there. Hey yo, I ain't mean to cut nobody off or nothing, but I just really want to throw this out there before I miss the opportunity and we start talking about something else. But I was going to say that I've been pondering for a minute. Could it possibly be that, you know, different animals having different skill sets that suit them best for their environment and functioning in different ways? Like we know, like we talking about the dolphin, for example, who got a big brain. If I'm not mistaken, he got the biggest brain in the whole animal kingdom. This guy uses sound waves, I believe it is, to communicate. What's that called again?
Like a sonar.
like a sonar, like a submarine. Okay, so you know, when you come across information like that and you find out that animals can do things that you can't do, right? And they have a slightly different makeup than you, live in a different environment than you. You know, the first thing I start thinking is that could different animals with different characteristics and capabilities possibly be functioning on different dimensions?
Exactly.
But we just interpret it and we see it and only understand it from a third dimensional perspective, because we are composed of to be a third dimensional being. We can only understand to a third dimension perspective. You know what I'm saying? So they might have things going on with them themselves that we can't even like acknowledge, we can't even see,
Adam,
we can't even, you know, because we can't process it. Our minds just can't even process it. But you know, I didn't even want to throw that out there, because that's too much of a like a cliffhanger. It leaves too much open room without tying up the loose ends, right? We need some actual feasible evidence that could make this suggestion, besides just making the more of a assumption. That's kind of something along the lines of an assumption. But then
hey,
I wanted
Speculating.
to ask y'all. I wanted to ask y'all because I was gonna say at this point I don't think that's the case, because this reality that we exist in, this reality that the animals exist in, is a third dimension reality. So I don't think any fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, etc. Type of experiences, or even physical anatomy, would even not only not thrive in this third dimension, but it would serve no purpose here on the third dimension. You see what I'm saying? But in the only reason, well, not the only reason, but one thing that led me to that conclusion is the story of, and I hate to keep going to the Bible, because like I said, I ain't trying to beat up the Bible, but just use it as an example. The story of how the fallen angels had come to earth, and they started to interbreed with women and things of that nature. One rendition I heard is that the fallen angels came and they were in human form, because in order to interact with human beings on this third dimensional planet, they had to take a physical form. So if that's true, if they actually, in order to come down here and interact, they had to take on a physical form, that would kind of suggest that only physical third dimensional activity can even take place here in this physical realm. What's the point of it even being the physical realm if it's going to be physical, spiritual, invisible? If it's, you know what I'm saying? So this is not a third dimensional physical realm if any type of dimension can exist here. But I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
you
Hey,
right.
go ahead. Go ahead.
You definitely tapped into some. I believe that there is interdimensional things happening like at the same time, exactly at the same time, from the first all the way to the ninth, if you want to call it that. We can only see the third. You are so fucking right with that. I just wanted to, co-sign with you.
Hey, so
Right.
like, I think the first thing, like, the first assumption you made was like, this is too big of a cliffhanger. Nigga. This right here is like a motherfucking anthill to me, nigga. I got this. No, I'm fucking with you, my nigga. But like, so, so like, I'm in agreement with the speculations you just pitched, right? You know, in all different kind of possible ways. I'm gonna try to use it in one way that came to my mind just based on what you were saying. Is like, so it's obvious apparently right now that everything that's on the, say, the uses physical plane that we call Earth, globe, whatever, doesn't matter, just the physical environment that we're in, there is obviously an interconnectivity with all things on it. Everything plays a role somewhere, some form, somehow for everything else. Not saying that I'm dependent on the tree leaf, but I'm not saying that I'm not. You know what I'm saying? And let's look at it like this. So in the Big Bang, all the possibilities of existence, the infinite possibilities were contained in this Big Bang. JP and I were talking about triple darkness and the first emanation of light, which should pretty much be the first thought would be all the thoughts that were able to be possible within one thought, which would be even that thought would be included in it, right? So boom, they all get sent out, right? But on the timeline, if we use time itself, space and time as something that we can measure, and things come out and things happen at a certain level on this timeline, even though to the Big Bang it's already said and done because already encoded with all the thought possibilities within that first thought, which itself was one of the possibilities of thought within itself. Then we can look at the biological nature of the evolution of man from the embryo, from the single cell, from the orgasm, which would be the Big Bang, to the implantation of the egg, to the annihilation of both egg and the fucking sperm, to the single cell, the 2, the 4, the 8, 16, 32, 64, to the plant stage, to the aquatic stage, to the reptilian stage, to the mammalian stage, then born as the perfected human being. Now, In the womb, there's no time. We see it on the outside as 9 months, roughly 8, 9 months, 10 months. That it could be disputed, but on the inside, there's no time, right? So we can also say, well, if there's no time, literally every orgasm, every fertilized egg is happening at the stage of the initial Big Bang, and then everybody's popping out at this current time, right? So if that's the case, then we can see the single cell organism represented in the evolution of the fetus or whatever. We see the plant life, we see the aquatic life or the aquatic life, we see the reptilian life, and we see the mammal life, and we see the actual human being. Then all the aquatic animals, all the plants, all the single cell organisms, all the fucking reptiles, all the mammals are just residual evidence, residual forensic evidence of that process, of all the different infinite possibilities that happened in the beginning. So when we look at the tree, we look at the bird or the bee or the dolphin or the snake, we are looking at the residual aspects of our own creation as it moves across the line of the timeline and shit. I hope that makes sense, and that would show why all things work together, and they're here. They're here, obviously. Maybe they've always been here because we've always been connected. We just don't really see how, because when we see, oh, well, I was born, that's everything starts. Like, nah, nigga, you was already in process. You was in queue, nigga. You was loading, nigga.
Yeah, it feels like if you like in this situation where we can have like a collective or societal perception of like a quote like a bad guy, right, or a boogeyman or something, right? Like society might say, oh, this type of person is a boogeyman, like say like a serial killer or somebody like that, or a terrorist or something like that, right? You know, I think it just goes back to that even the lie being a part of the truth, like it's still one thing, like it's so close to the same, like to its opposite, like that thing is so close to its opposite. It's just a perspective change away.
That's
you
it.
know?
Yeah, the lines are definitely blurred, bro. They're definitely blurred to the point. Are they even blurred anymore? Is it a line or is it not a line? It's like now we're kind of like
right.
in a state of being lost. And at least, like Alan Watts says, well,
But you're
oh,
found
you're
when
lost.
you're lost.
Well, at least you know where you are.
Exactly.
You're lost, right? At
You're
least you know
found.
you're lost.
So it's like you're found, but you're lost, right? So it's like you're not lost, but you're not
Nigga lost and found,
Matter
nigga.
Yeah, you're both,
You're
right?
lost
It's
and
that
found.
duality, like
Yeah, he got it too. Yep.
You're lost and found. That's what.
yeah.
That's wild.
So it's
That's wild. I was just gonna say, scrap my entire comment about the fallen angels possibly coming down here interacting because, and that's one of the reasons why.
I got that one too. Put your thinking caps on. No, sit back in your recline. No, so look, let's look at the fallen angels, not in the way they're saying as separate individuals, but like we are the fallen angels because we've been here doing fucking a lot of shit. Niggas been having sex with cows. Niggas been having sex with their own hand, nigga. You know, big booty Betty from down the block. Niggas been watch VR porn and hand devices, nigga, that fit in the palm of your hand, nigga. So if you want to know, and fallen angel and fallen and angle, you know, being not like, I'm gonna use a Masonic under conception of what is 90 degrees, which is the right angle, which gives us the ability to have the fourth dimension. You know, right angles start appearing, we're automatically in 4 dimensions, right? And when you have more than 4 right angles, then you have the cube, which is the 5th dimension, right? Because it's a 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional square. But then when you add even more dimensions more right angles onto that cube, you have what's called the tesseract, which is a cube within a cube outside of a cube. Like even the cube that's in the cube is actually the same cube that's outside itself, and actually the same cube that's in the middle. Now, every human being, I believe, is a tesseract because we have an inner, we have an outer. And if you remember the contra, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start, which is like say it's up, down, left, right, back, away, or back, forward, select, start. Which way you gonna go? You know, because you can only go in one direction at one time and shit, right? But if we look at the fallen angels as fallen angles, then we have let's do the word would be I'm gonna make a new concept, I guess. It'll be psychological or emotional or spiritual geometry, where we have become obtuse or acute. We're no longer operating in 90 degrees and stuff, rightly with
Wow.
everything else.
Man, so it's funny, not to cut you off, but it's funny
Go ahead.
you say with the 90 degrees, but I noticed like even on this ancient Vedic map here, it's like you're at the bottom of the torus field. Like every existence is the bottom of the torus field. Like it's the bottom of the angle here. So what we're talking about is like the mountain in the middle, obviously being the magnetic mountain, Mount Meru, Rupes Negra, with the magnetism happening, right, is where it's happening at. Like our heart would be right here. Like if this was a human, Mount Meru would be our heart, and it would be where the magnetism is happening at. And the torus field is circling around. And guess what? At the bottom of that torus field, at the bottom is where you exist at. That's everywhere. Like even in heaven, like you go up to the next one, at the bottom of that torus field is where you exist at. And the next one at the bottom of that torus field is where you exist at. And the next one and the next one. Like it's it's always the bottom of the torus field, the way it's angled. Like you're existing at the bottom of your said torus field at that time. So
bro, they got a loca for Rastas, nigga. They got
Rasta. That's what I said, but it's Rastala.
Hey,
Rastala.
Live in the Vitala Loca.
Rastatala. That's probably a bad place, man. That's probably real heavy.
That's because they black, nigga. Niggas don't like black folk.
That's systematic racism, nigga.
That's hilarious.
Motherfucking world tree, nigga. But look how Mount Meru separates. There's a great separation, and look what's between Mount Meru, Svarloka, and Jambalaya Loka, what a Jambalaya Vipa, whatever the known world, right? Is you have all the celestials in place within that thing, and it still shows the celestials above and still below. So, a lot of ancient cosmogonies view celestials as having influence. Matter of fact, the word influenza means star. The word influence means star. It literally means the influence of the stars. Now, are we talking about
is the flu just like something influenced on you? Like what the flu?
Look. So look, the guy who the Spanish influenza, right? There is a guy that Big Pharma, Johnson & Johnson, they stole all the information because this guy represented the worst kind of competitive competition that you could ever imagine. He believed that the sicknesses were caused by the sun, which is a star, which still will put you in the understanding of influenza, meaning from the stars or of the stars or influenced by the stars. And he basically put together this synopsis that says that every individual, due to their zodiac sign, is deficient and proficient in certain salts, certain mineral salts of their own body. And it kind of affects people in a certain way and stuff. So you want to, if you're born in this one life, matter of fact, I got the book. I'm gonna show it to you. If you're born in like this one zodiac, then you need to make sure you have this amount of salts in your body or that amount of salts in your body. And the thing about it, right, is that by him having this understanding, and he was actually taking influenza and injecting it into people, and they weren't getting sick. And he was noticing that some people were getting sick that were totally cut off from humanity altogether. But he had found that there was some kind of correlation with the influenza itself and the sun. And what happened was Big Pharma, they fucking shut that nigga shit down. Matter of fact, he's the guy who came up with the philosophy, the theory of germs and viruses, the evolution, causation, and association. And it's still today a theoretical principle. It never has been proven, regardless of all the fucking facts and statements.
Theory, yeah. It's a lot of weaponization of these theories. Go ahead, Ray.
Could I mean the whole zodiac thing is fake?
You think it's fake?
I don't know, cause I mean, it don't. My sign is a Gemini. I don't really feel like a Gemini. You feel me? Like,
Hey, look, this the book right here. It's called. It is kind of in the Christian sense. It's called the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation. But look at what he has in the middle. This almost a Ouroboros looking guy in a
Yeah.
wheel with what's that? The Star of David. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of sacred information. This is a dope ass book. I think it was like $14 online and shit. You know what I'm saying? I think I found this book. Listen to one of what's that nigga's ODD TV's
You
little
said that's the
14-minute
Zodiac
videos.
and the Salt of Information. What was that again?
It's called the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation by Carey and Perry.
Oh,
Bro,
okay.
this dude, like in the beginning of the book. So look, this is what he
Check that
says. The esoteric meaning of sex is based on mathematics, the body being a mathematical fact. This sounds like some 5% of shit right here. Sex in Sanskrit means six. 6 days of creation simply means that all creation or formation of self-existing substance is by and through the operation of sex principle, the only principle. 3 means male, father, the spirit of the male, the son. This trinity forms or constitutes one pole of being, energy, life, the positive pole. The negative pole, here we go, the negative pole, female trinity, female spirit of mother and daughter. So right there, bro, you know, I already know you like this book because you was talking about that shit the past couple of days.
Yeah.
It relates to tomorrow as well.
And
Crazy.
the thing is that negative doesn't mean that it's bad.
No, yeah.
It's just property.
Right. It's I've worked it out to a magnetism. It's like a drawing in. The part where it draws in is like the pumping of the heart or the breathing. You know, when you inhale, exhale, that part is the magnetic is inward towards the inner, and then outward is electric, repulsing. And so, you know, that's how we have.
Which part of the spectrum are you? Are you magnetic or electric?
I think we're both at the same time. We're both in neither. It's, you know, that seems to be where creation exists, in that paradox, you know, of both and neither. So that's why it's temporary, quote unquote. You know, it's temporal. You know, it's temporary. It's worldly, but you know, it just goes. It comes and goes as it pleases, as it were. And so,
right?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, there's more, you know, to existence than what we currently experience as existence. Even we've acknowledged that we can look at animals and tell that there's something more here. I mean, literally, it's like interacting with aliens. Like dolphins, dolphins are probably so smart that it's like we're literally interacting with aliens. You know, and to what,
Hey, bro,
and to them, we're aliens, and we're probably like these funny things, you know, and stuff like that.
Hey, check this out, right? So this book that I was reading from, it was written in 1932, right? I got this book last summer in the midst of the pandemic, and this is what he says. He says, while those born in any of the 12 signs may sometimes be deficient in calcium fluoride due to Mars or Mercury or both, in cancer at birth, cancer people are more liable to symptoms indicating a lack of this elastic fiber builder than those who are born in other signs. So basically, this nigga fucking wrote a motherfucking a damn Atkins diet based on the zodiac. You know what I'm saying? On some real shit. But this is what he says later down. He says this in the bottom paragraph. When we know that a deficiency in the cell salts of the blood causes the symptoms that medical ignorance has dignified and personified with names that nobody knows the meaning of, will we know how to heal scientifically by the unalterable law of the chemistry of life. When we learn the cause of disease, then and not before will we prevent disease. Not through quarantine, nor disinfectants, nor boards of health will man reach the long sought plane of health. Not through affirmations of health, nor denials of disease will bodily regeneration be wrought. Not by dieting or fasting or Fletcherizing or suggesting will the elixir of life and the philosopher's stone be found. This nigga wrote that shit in 1932, bro. You know what I'm saying? And this is like definitely dealing with what we're talking about right now and shit. And this is the guy that Big Pharma shut down. They shut that nigga down because what they wanted to do, they don't want this information getting out in a sense like mass produced because it stops them from keeping people sick to capitalize and keep like you got to keep people coming back to confession at least once a month for the new edition of the iPhone 12 of being saved. You know what I'm saying? We got a new segment coming out next month. Tune in on your local broadcast news networks and shit. You know, so like, and that's a dope thing, man. And look, I'm gonna show you another thing too, real quick, on this book, on the cover, right? So check this out. I don't know if you can see it. It's a swastika. Not saying he's a Nazi, but it's the Vedic style swastika.
Yeah.
You know, and you can look at that and see flat Earth.
You like that little Nazi, that Nazi
That's
symbol,
true.
or whatever.
Yeah, it's not a Nazi symbol though. That's what we're saying is like that symbol was that's where the Nazis got the symbol from. Like,
look, one more thing.
It passed through many cultures.
And you got there's the Ouroboros. You see the snake biting his own tail, but that tail he's biting the actual which is the universe. That's what the swastika means. The Vedic swastika means, you know, polarized universe, negative or positive, not bad or good, but two directions of the flow of the universe, which we can consider in or out. You know what I'm saying? And this motherfucker, bro, damn near 100 fucking years ago, dropped this motherfucking album, nigga, this mixtape.
Right. he had bars with that one, you know, and it just shows that how humans, you know, how we are all like capable, like we can read this same thing from these ethers. So that's why I said like imagination is like literally, it's almost like peering into other realities, almost like dreaming is like another reality, like it's other realities, like insane.
My nigga, I just noticed something else too. I haven't noticed this at all. I've had this book for almost 2 years, almost a year and a half. Look what south is at the top. West is where east should be. North is where south should be. East is where west should be. He basically flipped the zodiac.
He flipped it.
You know what I'm saying? And if we look at, you know, the way the sun moves as far as the zodiac and shit, you know what I'm saying, with the seasons and like in the darkness, that would be considered north. Summer would not be really considered, you know, south, because in the north is where the sun can't be seen for X amount of days. So I never really fucking even noticed that shit till just now. Yeah, y'all gotta get this book, bro. I'm about to get back in this bitch.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. It's very interesting. So I think that it's definitely like we see with this same, you know, because it seems like he's tapping into all this same information, and coming with, you know, a breakdown based on that, which is really dope. But it seems that you know, we have these various dimensions of existence that are like cascading in those depictions, and I always find this one the most intriguing. This depiction of reality from the Vedic origin. You know, they're holding it down for humanity here. And
the cosmic egg on the side.
Yeah, the cosmic egg on the side with, you know, not poached. You know, we got the egg with the light being actually crystallized right in the egg. You know, I mean, it's amazing. It's just like you're dealing with sperm and eggs, you know, in a
I mean, you can
woman's
even
in a
look.
woman's
You can even put a
womb.
Look, you could put a tail on the bottom of that bitch, and that could be the sperm carrying all the information of existence back to
And
itself.
then it gets absorbed in a bigger version of itself, or an egg, and then boom, you're right. Like it's an egg itself.
It's look, if that's the case, the universe is asexual. It's
Well,
feminine and asexual. It impregnates itself.
Electricity is magnetic, right? It's like the receiving of the electric is magnetic, right? Because these are the same force. That's what electromagnetism is. It's the binary code, right? So it's the same force. So I did want to touch on like how, you know, we talked about like how things are inverse, and like, you know, it all relates, and I think that it's clear, we could all agree that lies are truths from different perspectives, truths are lies from different perspectives, but there is an overall truth, and I guess you could say an overall lie, so to speak. And you know, these things are infinity and nothingness. Eventually it just goes back to zero. But
Yeah, it's like
when we when we look
in
at
the Kabbalion Hermetics,
mhm,
all is mental,
all is
and
yeah,
then
yeah, exactly.
after that you have what is it? Vibration is next, or
Yeah, so
yeah, I
all is
think
mental, right? So
vibration.
the question is, if all is mental, can you outthink reality? You know, can you think outside of possibility? Can you think outside of, like, you know, creation, existence?
Well, technically, no, because once you think outside and you term it outside, that is a direct reflection of inside. So outside becomes a new inside, and inside now becomes the outside. So you got to go back to where you was, and then back to where you was, and you're just bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, I agree.
So look, so it's the seven laws is mentalism. All is mind. The universe is mental. Correspondence, as above, so below. As below, so above. So that's where we get the first emanation of truth and lie comes with correspondence. If there is a truth, there is a lie. If there is a lie, there is a truth. If the truth exists, then the lie is in it. If the lie exists, then the truth is in it. And then we have vibration. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. You're going back and forth. What's truth? What's lie? What's truth? What's lie?
Yeah.
Truth can become lie, and lie can become truth. Then we have polarity. Everything is dual, which is showing that everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites, truth and lie. Then you have rhythm. Everything flows out and in, like we just said. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. Well, what was the truth today could be a lie tomorrow. Or we could find a different truth today tomorrow that will make the truth today not the truth that is tomorrow, which would become a lie. Then we have cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. So by the truth being able to be the truth, it effectively caused lie to exist. And then we have gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principle. Gender manifests on all planes. So I think that if we look at this as far as truth and lie, if I believe this is solely only the truth, then there's no more truth, then that becomes impotent, right? If I look at it, this is truth, but there may be more truths. Now we can have,
Like, you got to have half a
fertility.
lie.
Yeah, we can have fertility, and that's where we can create new forms of observation and stuff. So you want to be able to have both in play. If with the gender of is it the truth, is it a lie? Because if you think everything's a lie, you're gonna end up like Bobby Boucher's fucking mom,
Yeah, you
and your
can't think
name's
everything is
gonna
a
be
lie.
your name will be Invincible Ignorance.
Yeah, that's like a grand delusion. It's like when you believe everything is a lie. That's ridiculous. Some conspiracy theorists start like moving towards that side of the pendulum. Like, it's
Man,
like,
that
wow.
shit got yeah. I know a couple dudes got big followings and shit, and it's like everything's a lie. Well, then nigga, then that's a lie. But you can't say that because you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because if everything's a lie and that's a lie, that just makes everything true. But if that's a lie, bro, now we're fucked. Because we're grasping straws now. Trying to fucking grab a fucking handful of ocean in the ocean.
Exactly. And so, you know, so where we have the perception of these things existing, then there's also a perception of these things not existing, you know. where choice is an illusion, where destiny, I guess, would be what choice is. With separation is an illusion, oneness. Um, it's like how like comfort and discomfort, like growth, like discomfort is equals growth. It's like, and then comfort, which is almost like becoming that one from zero, then suddenly it's discomfort again. And so
Hey,
it's like
it's fucked up.
it's like order and chaos, right? So it's like the same things. And so we hear these people talk about these things, right? Like I want to ask an interesting question, right? It's kind of deep. I don't know. I don't want anybody to get in their feelings or anything, but this is it's kind of a tough question. But I'm gonna ask it to y'all. Real quick. Let me just say, like, the money thing is like, we understand that like there are people that play the role of dealing with that, right? Administering the money and stuff like that, and doing this and that, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like when we play those roles in reality and in existence, it's because we need certain levels of learning that come with the things that we're doing. And it's important for people to realize that that's why they have all these ancient axioms and things that talk about, like, how the humble person is the person that makes it to heaven and this kind of thing. This idea comes from knowing that the zeros type of situation, right? Like zeroing out, like we've understood, is that you're removing all the illusion. And so when you're having a bunch of assets and certain aspects of reality where you're kind of grabbing and holding onto things that are inevitably not even there, right? Like quite literally, if we really want to break it down, because once it's all gone, how can you ever prove it was there? And so like when it's a whole different thing, and it's like that's when we discover those hidden cities that were forgotten, and then now we remember them. And it's like all this different stuff that we come across. It's a lot of disinfo and stuff, fake artifacts and stuff like that, fake findings. And they got a lot of fake stuff going on too. They try to, again, that's that same role that people play. And it's that same lower self, that same lie role. But again, once again, the lie is a part of the truth. It's like the truth is it's hard for me to say a truth is a part of the lie, even though I know that I inevitably I have to say that, because
Well, yeah, we don't.
it's a balance. Because
you're,
yeah,
you still have like an emotional, kind of like an emotional tie to like, I don't want to be lied to. You know what I'm saying? So like, the truth is part of the lie. Like we know that shit's true when dealing with women, because we know there's a motherfucking problem, but she ain't said it. But we know, and that's true. She ain't said it. That's a lie. Like there's no problem, but we know there's a problem because she's slamming fucking doors and shit, and opening the drawers really fucking harshly and shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, so another thing, like, with the idea of God, like the God paradox, and in a Christian most high, God is everything. I'm on his side. We have formed a team. We're gonna go kill everybody on Warzone. You can't fuck with us. They don't realize that God is bound. God doesn't even become God. The creator cannot be the creator until he does one thing, and one thing only. He creates. The fucked up thing is the creation cannot be the creation until it's created, right? So if God becomes God through creation, then really who's creating who? Because as soon as God creates, God has created his ability to be the creator. But the creation allows that to happen. So when we look at the lie and the truth, how does the lie become what bestows the lie its power? And that is the truth. But what disposes the lie, the truth of its power? That's the lie. So really, the truth and the lie are something else that isn't truth or lie. It is just all possibilities.
Exactly. The truth and the
Glad you
lie are
said
part
that.
of something greater. Go ahead, Ray. My bad, bro.
No, I said I'm glad that he said that because me, Yadi, well, speaking of this, Icon already know me. Like, he know me by me saying it multiple times. Like, I don't believe in God and that because at the end of the day, you don't know if it's real or not or whatever. So I'm glad that you said, like, at the end of the day, you don't know that if it's true or not, or AKA like a that's the guy that like you gotta have a creator behind that. That's why it's more like when it comes to stuff like that, I always keep thinking like, hey yo, this is some fairy tale stuff or whatever. So that's why I'm glad you said something like that. I wasn't saying like you have to have a creator before that, basically. So
Yeah, the creator doesn't exist until he's creating, he makes a creation. So really the creation is creating the creator. And now
Hmm.
it's a conundrum. It is a paradox. And like basically like since last night, maybe the night before, the paradox is even the idea between true light, we are on the precipice of trying to figure out a paradox, which is leading us to another paradox. It is literally a rabbit hole. But where does the rabbit hole go? Fucking nowhere. It's a fucking hole. It's always going to look like a hole once you get into it. And when you go into the hole, you have actually found that there is no true,
What we
there is
find
no
is that
lie. There
when you go
only
into the
is.
hole, it's like you come out the other side.
On the one end of my light hole's a dark hole, and vice versa.
You know, and so it's like the Taurus field again, and it's like, what's interesting is like I look at the cosmic egg, and yeah, I can see the Taurus. You know, I could
And the
definitely see
cosmic
it.
egg count, what does a thought look like? If I could look at a thought, might like that a whole fucking universe, man, like of its own intelligence, its own
Of its own
sovereignty.
move, like
it looks like
perception of movement, like it's incredible. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like pretty much almost like a teleporter, if you know what I mean. Like a teleporter to the underworld, if you know what I mean.
And like there's this dude on
when you say the
TikTok.
underworld, what do you mean by that? You mean hell? When you say
No,
the
no, no.
underworld?
Not hell. Like in order to how do you say this? Underworld as in to get into another dimension or
Beneath the surface,
yeah, the surface, getting
beneath
into
what's
the
Why is
surface.
it
visible.
under? What? Why is it under? Why does it have to be under? I'm lost on that. Is it like the astral? Do you mean like the astral plane or
Like
something like?
if you can actually see the red thing, I'm looking at it like it's a portal. Like you can get from that side to the other side, but
Yeah.
those little holes, those kind of mean like those are like imagine like you had, for example, like look at it like a black hole. It's like
Mm-hmm.
yo, black holes are in there, but if you jump into them, you're gonna end up somewhere else. You're not gonna end up in there.
Mm.
And so basically, when you're saying under, but relating it to like a portal, you're basically meaning in, but that does not constitute going below. But it kind of does constitute going below the surface of where you're going into. Like so, if I go in, does that mean I'm going under my skin? Like kinda, but not like what I'm saying. I'm basically going somewhere else that's not here on the physical of what we can deem as you know uh single point of perception. Another thing too, like with the idea of like with the idea of portals. You know, once you like. How would like and kind of like in a heliocentric style, but not that. I'm gonna use like a great universal, intelligent universe style, right? So when every person is born, they're coming from somewhere else. We kind of are taught that we just out of nothingness, we were created from nothing, and that would put us at the big. That would actually make us every individual the actual Big Bang, or make every
Mm-hmm.
individual God. Because before there was nothing, now there's something, and we're kind of taught like, oh, well, you just came here, you're an accident, you were time traveling, you got off in the wrong fucking time, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? But like we came from somewhere else. We were already in play, already in processing, the universe. And if we look at the celestial, we call it celestial clockwork or like a celestial stargate. where everything, every grain of sand, every individual, every hair on everybody's head, every fucking cloud, every star, every planet, where wandering star, wherever they were all at the moment of your birth, that was your way in. That was your Stargate and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, when we're having new thoughts, you know, I forget where I gotta make sure if I say this, if I'm not okay. So I just gotta make sure I'm not fucking giving away any information that I'm not supposed to give away, right? But like when you have a new thought, so people start taking journals, right? A magical journal, okay? And when you take it or a journal, you take your journal, you read what you were thinking about at 11:15 the day before. You know what I'm saying? Because you might notice that at 11:15 the day before there was a certain thought that happened, and now you're looking at that thought, and you might come to the understanding that there was everything in the universe at one spot when that thought came into existence. While you were already in existence, existence is still being born outside of you and within you. You know what I'm saying? So, like, technically, with the idea of going to a black hole, we are literally living forever into a period of going into a black hole and being in the black hole and being out the black hole by going back into the black hole. And that's kind of like we get the idea also of triple darkness. Like triple darkness doesn't just happen in the beginning and it stops. It is still happening. It is the happening that never stops happening and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, bro, but look, I gotta roll, y'all. I gotta go. Yeah, it's getting late because I gotta fucking drive to LA tomorrow and shit. So I gotta make sure I'm up early as fuck.
All right, bro.
But man, again, bro, good build. I'm glad there's more bros on here and shit. You know, but yeah, man, y'all keep building, doing y'all thing. And JP, I'll be up with you, man. Hit me up on Discord and shit.
Okay. All right, bro. I appreciate you for coming through. Thank
All
you.
right, bro. Thank
For
you.
sure, for sure.
Take it easy, man.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate everybody's contribution, man. Been a
No problem.
very deep and insightful build of this series. We can always refer back to. Very dope. A lot of information covered.
We should have had the backdrop of Beanie Siegel Truth. Dun, 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 dun.
Catch that copyright strike. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know they're gonna get you. That's how YouTube. You know they're not even playing with it. They don't even want you to. You know, you can't rock out. But,
I know.
I even caught it on the last one. I got the copyright. They was like, oh, it's a copyright claim because I was playing the free copyright-free music from YouTube. And I got a copyright strike from YouTube.
Yo, we got any beats? I got some nice beats to send you. Some nice calm joints. Original.
Yeah, definitely, man. I definitely appreciate it. But you know, the last thing that I really wanted to cover, man, and I definitely close it out. And I think that's perfect timing. That's right around the time that I was hoping to close it out, because last time it was much longer, and I didn't want to go that long. So, you know, it's like the manifestations of the polarizations of this truth that we're talking about. Like we talk about like how it's this thing that is, but it isn't. It comes and it goes. It's like, oh, you know, this thing is true. Truth is relative, that so we say. But then an objective truth, you know, we all have to agree on. It's not that we all can agree on it. It's that we all have to agree on the objective truth. It's the truth that's evident and obvious to everybody, right? So we have the objective truth, and then we have our own truth. You know, I feel like when your own truth is different to the objective truth, then that's friction. And it's like friction. It's like suffering, but for some reason, it's not like it's still a part of the whole truth. It's still a part of the whole truth, but it's friction because it's like you're inverting the truth or something like that. Like that lie is causing an issue, and it's causing that friction. You know,
Right. Leaving something leaving something out of your hand to happen to you in a negative way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh.
Yeah, and then yeah, exactly. So it's like the choice thing. I do like the how the brother was saying, like, instead of illusion, see it as temporary, which really is like, it's like nothingness and infinity, right? They're like the same thing, but they're the opposites of each other. It's insane. It's like they're the opposites of each other, but they're the same thing. Do you see that? Like, you see how it's like they're the opposites, but they're also the same thing at the same time of being the opposites. That's the paradox, and that's why, you know, it's an illusion either way. Like, because it's never really that. It's the other thing, but it's never really that. It's the other thing. it's you know, in our circumstances, right? We look at like these like people that manufacture the money, you know, that issue out the currencies that determine the city structures and the type of environments that we find ourselves in, where we have these electric companies, we have like these things that we do, and as humans, like, we all engage in all of this stuff, right? We all participate, and it's like we've determined that it should be this way, and it's like, you know, they're putting this tax on it, right? So we can see that manifestation in the physical form, where people have like a tax put on their physical system. You know, like something gets taxed, or, you know, I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. You know, that's a very sensitive subject, but, you know, different things happen, you know, or manifest based on, you know, I guess delusion within the system, or something like that that's going against the system, or, you know, some kind of failure of the system. But I feel like, you know, when it's working, it's at that zero balance. But we have those people that, you know, play the role of the controller, and people should know, is like that it doesn't make them what they think they are. You know, it's just a role that they're playing. But see, the fact that that's the role that you play, it's like saying, like, okay, if we all played as Batman or whatever, if we all played as the Super Friends, and somebody wants to play as the Joker, you know, that's the role that they play, and they want to play the role that comes with that. And so, yeah, it's gonna be kind of flashy, but at the same time, it's gonna be a lot heavy. And so it's a lot that comes with that. It's lessons that must be learned when you go on these routes of delusion and grandiose pursuits of ego, where you're indulging yourself to a extreme magnification, you know, and these kind of things. Some people to the point of idol worship. I mean, it's insane, you know. But you know, it's what delusion does. And what it is people make it true. Like we said, it's true. It is true, because they say, oh, well, this person is my idol, and they, you know, they make, unfortunately, you know, or fortunately, it could be fortunate, they make it true. They make that true. So, you know, depending on your perspective, you know, depending on where you're at the time, I guess, of the torus field. But we see that the material matter of the torus field is at the bottom. Like when we were looking at the Bumandala, the cosmic egg, it's like it's at the bottom, which is interesting, because it's like, you know, that lets you know the physical part is the lower nature. The physical part is the lower nature. The money is electricity. You know, it governs the society. It's the bloodstream. It's the electric force, the currency, the current. It's the wave. It's, you know, it's the thing that drives it. But it's because the human form chooses to exist a certain way. So I think that we have different ways to exist. Like, it's different ways that we're able to exist, and that we do exist. But perhaps, you know, I don't know. Like, that's what I really want to determine one day, It's like, you know, what part of the perception just locks you into a certain existence or a certain part of your existence or a certain realm. And again, I think that relates to the temporal brain, the temporal lobe in the brain that we was talking about. I think that's the brain physical manifestation, but there's all, you know, again, we are multi-dimensional, so we exist in different levels. We have different manifestations of the same thing. So as the physical's a manifestation of it, then it's another manifestation, the mental or whatever, right? It's a manifestation of the same thing. So we have a body that's the manifestation in a different reality, like a different dimension, like a different thought, like I'll say mental, right? That's a great example. It's like we have the physical body and then we also have a mental body, you know? And then who knows, you know, the amount of bodies that we have. So it's pretty crazy. You know, they talk about the energy body. It's different layers to the energy body. People mention the chakras, energy points. You know, we of course we all know about the chakras and we deal with that. We know the chakras, the energy wheels. They was talking about the kundalini earlier, and you know, it going, you know, the upward motion of the chakras, and that's what we're dealing with. So when you're moving upward on the torus field, right, you're keeping it going, flowing upward, and that's the perception of ascension. See, right here is letting you know in the midway point, you know, what's happening. And so when you hit this really where it's coming from, this part right here, the middle point, it's like boom. But it circles back around, and then when you're down here, this is where you awaken, like you start awakening. Like you're at the red part. That's why you got to take the red pill. Because actually this is where you start awakening at. And then you're moving up awakening. And you awaken, you know, all the way. Where your reality of you awakening up here, where everything actually does happen, like the brain operating the body, right? It's like when that part is with the energy, when the energy of you reaches that part, it lines up and it says, well, it matches. It's like your brain, which is where your physical body is governed, is the top, and the top where the spiritual aspect is in line as well. So they're both in synchronicity. So your energy body and your physical body are at the same place when you get your up to your crown chakra. And when you do that, that's when you know, I think you zero out, you know. I think it's something different, you know. It's something different. So I don't know, man. The money thing is interesting. We love it. You know, we can't lie. We can't lie now. We love it. It's a game. It's a game that we play. You know, why does it? It's because of the level of consciousness that humanity is on. Because we got to realize that no matter if we want to be or not, the whole humanity is one body. Because that's just a reflection of reality, right? So like, cause inverse, we split ourselves into the particle or the wave. And so we're all these different points, dot, 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 dot. It's human, 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 this guy, that guy, her, you know, different things. Right. And it's like on a true level, you know, we're actually one. And so it's oneness. It's just, the opposite of fragmentation, I guess, right? The opposite of the broken mirror, right? It's the fixed mirror. It's the solid mirror. So it's like one thing. And that's really what it is. So we perceiving it as the light, the fragmented aspect. And also because it's we're inhabiting our individual selves on this level. And so what it is, you know, we have to perceive. We have to perceive our consciousness. You know, we have to see where we're at on this spectrum of awakening. Did we even take the red pill yet? You know, a lot of people haven't even started at the root chakra yet. You know, and so that's just a growing process, because they're probably like outward, and they're coming around, and here they come, and then they hit that root chakra, they hit the red pill, boom, they're awakened. They're going up, you know, going through the process. So I definitely feel it with the chakras. It's very real. It's insane. I think when we get in line with that, there's really nothing we can't do, because now, you know, we're putting ourselves in line with the all, because now we're tapping into the Taurus field. It's the greater cycle, boom. And then you have, you know, yourself, you shrink into yourself, and you're like one individual, and then it's like, it's still the same thing. It's still the same thing, because you know, we have the magnetic Taurus field that comes from the heart. It's the same. It's literally the same thing as the greater reality. So it's like it all just ties in together. You know what I mean? But you know, we keep we let money like control us. You know, I think because what it does, I think, is just slowing down our awakening process. Maybe that's what I'm guessing, because I don't know. It's speculation really at this point. Like right now, I'm speculating. I love the build. I'm bringing it to a close, so I'm just kind of speculating here at the end. Just like, you know, perhaps, you know, when we're engaging in delusion, maybe we're trying to go back the other way, you know? Like we want to push the Taurus the other way. Which is interesting. And so I think that's what we're doing. Like when we do this thing with money and like our society, like we're engaging in the delusion part. So we're like trying to push it back down. Like we're trying to throw up the red pill. Like, like we took the red pill and we started awakening. Then we just want to reverse that process now. You know, I think that it's like we're like pushing the Taurus field the other way. Now, when you do that, when you, when you go up the Taurus field this way, right? You got this cycle, like say if it's to the right, and then you go up, but then on the side, you go this way, it's going down, then it's like a figure 8. It's like you're making a circle. Either way, it's a figure 8. You could go twice, but it's like, I think that's what time is. It's going against each other. It's going against itself. What's that? That's an NFT? NFT? Yeah, the time, it's going against each other. Like the time is created when it's going against each other. Something like that, but just the duality of it. But yeah, I certainly feel that we don't need to, you know, behave this way. But of course, that's only because that's my perspective, and I can't leave that out. Like, yeah, you know, it's not everybody's perspective. Different people are at different places in their awakening. Like I said, some people didn't take the red pill yet, you know? So they didn't even start the process, because everything is a process, right? In time, because time is movement, time is motion. And so they didn't start the process of awakening because perhaps that's just a perception. They really did, or they really have. You know, I think we all have, and it's just where your awareness is at the time. Because if you got the Taurus field going around and it's coming up from the bottom, and you're out here, if your awareness is out here, you're not gonna really understand that you're this middle part awakening at the point. It's really just where your awareness is at. It's all like a copy of each other. This is how the blood cells look too, right? If I'm not mistaken. Don't blood cells look like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like they got like this little button kind of indentation. Looks like a Taurus. It's like a torus. You see that? That's like a torus field. It's like indention in the
Approved.
middle. You know what I mean? Get you that button. That's crazy. Look at like little donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Straight donuts.
Cheerios.
Cheerios. Fact, yo, the Cheerios. That's it. Boom. Oh, that's crazy. That's beautiful. Man, it's the torus field. Boom. It's all a torus field. We got the torus field of the body. That's the true shape. So what? So the Earth is a torus field? Is that what it is? Like is Earth? Is that the shape of the Earth? But you know what? This will be Mount Meru. This is where the magnetism happens at. Our body is like Mount Meru, and then we exist at the bottom of the torus field. So the ground, that's the Earth, is always the bottom of the torus field, and then we're always rising up, through the space. It's Mount Meru reaching up towards the heavens. And the torus field is created. That's, man, what a beautiful situation that we find ourselves in. So I think it's just a currency thing. I think we can manipulate these things, not in a bad way, but like in a conscious way. It's not bad. It's just conscious. We're just aware. Like when it comes to money and shit like that, like we're aware of these things. The games are played. I mean, look at Wall Street, right? It's just easy. It's like people go onto Wall Street and they just take their time and make lots of money. What is it really? It's just an illusion. It's just like they're playing on the market. They're playing with the movement. Things go up, things go down, You're just on the right side of that movement, And that's it. And literally, like, that's really what it is. It's like you're on the right side of it and you're able to profit from it. That's just one example, and that's how you manipulate these things. But it's just a conscious awareness of it. That's why people say, oh, when you know better, you do better. And then they talk about the community and stuff like that. And we always talk about the community and this and that. People, like children, need to be taught things. Because why? Because that influences their focus, their conscious focus. Because that's really what it's about. It's not about per se them being taught that certain thing. I mean, it is, because that's what they need to get that focus. But really, it's the focus of it that's actually determining it, right? Like we talked about the double slit experiment. It's the focus of it that's determining it. It's like, oh, it's a particle because we're focused on it being a particle. And that's why the great teachers teach you to open your mind, and your focus becomes open. It becomes widened. Now you have a greater focus. Your mind is open. It's to a different focus, like super conscious is what they call it, man. Let me type it in. Super conscious. First of all, shout out to the blood cells. They got the white blood cells and all that. You know what I'm saying? But super consciousness, right? Super consciousness. Let's take a look at it. These, people, is where consciousness combines. Everybody's consciousness is a part of an overall consciousness, It's telling you here, your super conscious mind, it's a greater awareness. They put it like this, but really it's different. It's like upwards. This circle, this halo that they got around it, it would be like a tornado. It rises. It's like a funnel cup. Like it's coming from like an upside down pyramid. It's coming from a small point, and your awareness is expanding out as it goes up. And so, it's that way. Like this, but, see, they got it upside down, but they're right though. Exactly. So it just goes higher. But it's upside down. It's the chalice. It shows you that it's the V. We talked about that. So yeah, man, I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't know if anybody wanted to say anything to close it out or anything like that, but yeah, we wrapping it up. when we look at really I just want to say when we look at manipulation and like focus, that's what it is. When we talk about manipulation, that's focus. Like when you're putting your attention on something and awareness, you know. But see, what we do is we get into entertainment, and it's like a passive. You know, it's like people are like dancing with you. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of you like dancing, someone's like kind of guiding your steps, and that's all it is. And that can be good or bad, or however you want to look at it. It could be whatever you want it to be, really. But that's just what it is. We're watching something happen. We're watching someone else. You know, we're putting our focus on something else. That's when you're watching. You're passive. It's like you're looking at it. You're taking it in. It's entertaining you. It's like your focus becomes whatever that thing is, and that's why, you know, people power up at concerts. You know, it gets power. You know, because it's that focus. You know, there's power in that focus, and I think that relates to currency. I think that relates to energy, electricity, which is currency, which is all the same thing. And I think it's a focus thing. I think focus and currency go hand in hand. I think they're the same on different perspectives from different dimensions. Exactly. Like currency, like it's flowing, it's energy, it's electric, it's the internet wires, right? It's the information traveling through the internet. Obviously, that's the sperm traveling through the phallus into the woman's womb, you know? But you have these people, right? Like, let me see. I'm not going to pull that up, but I'm just going to go back to the chakras. Like, when we're moving downward, you know, we want to push it backwards. We want to go backwards. We want to make the flow go the other way. It's almost like this is a positive charge. Like when we see it coming up, rising up, that's a positive charge cell, right? Or whatever, however you want to look at that, right? If we say the torus field of the human body is positively charged, when the torus field is rising from the bottom and moving upwards and outwards like that, when it's going that way, wax off, that's wax off. Wax on, wax off. So when you're doing wax off, that's going positive. When you're doing wax on, because wax off is your zero. You're going back to zero. You're releasing it all. You're releasing it. It's moving through. You're moving through. It's going. It's moving. You're allowing the current to flow, right? That's creation. That's wax on. When you wax off, you go in. That's when you're creating a friction and you're going the other way. Your chakras are going the other way. So you're going from the heart, you're going out downward, and you're going backwards, you know. Now you're going from here, you're going down, and then it's flowing like that, and you're coming back up the opposite way, which is wild. And then whatever that means, I don't even know what that means, you know, but going down, and you just have a negative charge. That's all it is. And that's just a different way. So that was the very last question before I close it out was for real, because that was what I really wanted to say. I want to ask, you know, is polarization dualistic or just two parts? Like, is it just a 2-part thing, or is it as many parts as you need it to be? And also, you know, like what, you know, what's the difference? Like what, like between like, okay, like if you go that route, can you go that route and still get to the same place? That's my question. Like, can you go downward on the spiral and still get to the same place? Like, is it truly a torus field where the energy flowing downward would still come up to the top at the end of the day, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but is that like a reincarnation? Well, not like a
Oh, that's wow.
reincarnation, like more like a rebirth into, if you know what I mean, like you repeat the cycle, but you're rebirthed into a
Hmm.
different form.
Wow, that's
You
crazy.
know?
I see what you're saying. Damn, that's crazy. Cause like you ejaculate going down bottom, that's where you know, the organs, the male, you know, the reproductive organs go in for the woman and the man, and you going
That
down,
part.
and then you come in, and it's creating another human from the
But that's
lower
what I've
part.
been saying. I've been saying more like, hey, if you look at it, it's like I can be like, yo, I'm a human being right now. And at the end of the day, it's like, yo, you're the eyeball. It's like a camera.
Yeah,
You're a camera, and you got eyeball, but you can't see inside the mind or anything. So it's like, oh shit, okay, I'm inside a human body, but I'm a soul or whatever behind that. But at the end of the day, if by the time I get old, I die, but my soul is still alive. Meaning I'm still alive.
yeah,
I'm just dead by the time I'm born. You
right,
know what I mean?
right. I feel you. I definitely feel you on that. That's crazy that you said that, man. I appreciate you for saying that. Like reincarnation, like yeah, you're coming downward, and then you're the physical of reincarnating. I think,
It's kind of weird because it's like you die. It's like, are you gonna be born again? Or I don't know. Kind of weird. I don't know.
yeah, it's a question. I do subscribe to reincarnation. I think that is a state of being where somehow you're coming back, I guess, downward or something like that. I'm not sure how that goes, but like I said, I'm kind of reducing it to the torus field of traveling downwards on your chakras and coming back to the physical, like like you're coming from the heart going physical and then bloop, physical, and you're reincarnating. Because I think your energy body is more tied to like going forth with your incarnation, like where your soul is at is probably in the energy body. You know, where we have the soul, it's going to be in the energy body. And somehow the soul relates to the sun, the outer sun. We see the sun in reality, and then somehow our soul relates to that. So, just a reminder, you know, it's really all really an illusion. So, when we hold on to the worries and things like that, that stops the flow of the currency. You know, when we're blocking it, we stop the flow. When we're holding on to something, when we're going inward, we're stopping the flow. We got to go outward. You know, or we can go inward and cycle inward, and then it go the other direction. You know. So yeah, man, that's all I wanted to say. You good, Snubs? Terry, you good, bro? Everybody smooth? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out. Another fire build.
Can you probably pass out because you were smoking Halloween right there?
We shall proceed.